Welcome to the Smark Foundation Podcast. I'm Aaron. This is Adam.
I'm Adam. That's Aaron.
And,
Who are you?
And we are here to talk about everything going on for the last week in WWE and AEW. And we are well-fed wrestling fans this week. Almost a little too well-fed. I am a little bit tired. But here we are.
Yeah, it's going to be, man. When we get to Grand Slam Australia in a few weeks, with it being 11:30 at night, I don't have to work the next day. I took that week off for my birthday, but yeah, it's going to be a challenge to stay up that late. I may have to watch it the next day at some point. Thank God it's on Max now. Because
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I had been watching on Triller anyway, but like going in and changing the thing, the server and everything like that, it's a pain in the butt when you're doing it on an Amazon Fire Stick. Like if it's on your computer, it's a few clicks.
Mm-hmm.
You're waiting what seems like forever when you've got a device that hooks up to your TV. So. Yeah, I would rather just skip that and just go straight to Max. So yeah, it'll be there, and I'll hit you up. I'll hook you up.
Oh yeah. So like I said, we're well-fed wrestling fans, and with that, we have a lot to cover this week because we have like 4 TV shows plus a really badass Call in the Ring segment going on. So
5 TV shows.
Oh, we have 5 TV shows. God, we have 5 TV shows.
Yeah, because main event.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try and speed through this and not be as long-winded as we usually are. As much as we enjoy each other's ideas and conversation and general company. But yeah, it's we're gonna try and make this a little bit more compact than we normally do. So.
Word.
If you're wondering where else you can find the Smark Foundation podcast, you can stream our show on Pandora, Spotify, and nearly anywhere else you normally stream your podcasts from, including our home at rss.com. We're also on YouTube, featuring not only full episodes of our show, but individual segments from each episode for easier content digestion. For any of those outlets, just type Smark Foundation Podcast into the search bar to find us. If you'd like to interact with us directly, we're very active on our new social media home, Blue Sky. You can contact the show at smarkfndnpodcast.bsky.social for general pro wrestling or podcast comments. And if you want to get to know us each a little bit more on a personal level, Aaron's personal account is at aaronsmark.bsky.social, and Adam's is at adamsmarkfndnpodcast.bsky.social. If you'd like to further support our show, you can visit our shop at smarkfoundationpodcast.printful.me to purchase various merchandise with our show's logo on it. Wear your SFP t-shirt or hoodie around town and spread the word about the show that strives to bring fans together around what's great about pro wrestling today, brought to you by a couple of everyday elder millennial wrestling fan dads. Now back to the show.
So with that said, let's get into our lockup for the week, which is our Raw from January 20th. Okay, so there wasn't a lot to Raw. Raw's running right about 2.5 hours. They're speeding through things. It is clicking. It's clicking on all cylinders, man. It's really going. So we'll start off. Gunther and Jey Uso had a really good promo battle. Gunther basically saying stuff like, you're just a really good tag team wrestler and you don't belong in the main event and you don't, you're nobody, you're nothing. I don't think about you. And you're just a really good, he said, you're a really good mascot is what he called Jey Uso, which was harsh, man. Gunther's harsh in the best way. Really puts over the asshole heel really well. But Jay turned it around. He's like, okay, yeah, I'm a mascot and this is my team. And he's like pointing at the people, he's like, and they ride with me and they roll with me and we pull up together. And he's like, and I'm going to pull up on your ass on Saturday night and I'm going to win. We'll talk about that more later. But,
it is scheduled. So.
But they have the go home math with Jay kind of standing tall in that promo battle. So my guess at this point was Gunther's probably going to win. We've seen titles change hands. Well, not really change hands, but they've crown new champions on Saturday night's main event. So we haven't really built a thing for them to be changing titles where we would think they are. Plus, we're on the road to WrestleMania. I just don't think it's happening right now. That's what I'm thinking at this point during this Raw. And then we had Rey Mysterio versus Kofi Kingston. Basically, Rey's been playing the locker room leader, and Kofi and Xavier super dicks. Everybody kind of hates him. Like even JBL was like, I don't want to talk about you guys. Y'all were great when you had Big E. Like even JBL is getting face time off of these guys because they're
JBL was kicking Mexicans back over the border. He has no place to talk.
Okay, that's fair. But still,
I mean, granted, that was over 20 years ago. Yeah. WWE canon is nebulous at best. But still, like, this is a character who never really reckons with the fact that, yeah, you were like the worst American as your gimmick. So
he was basically the blueprint, the blueprint for Donald Trump. If you look at him, it's basically the same guy.
JBL had better hair.
Much better hair. Fantastic taste in cowboy hats coming from a Texan.
I bet he had a better. I guarantee he had a better lariat too.
Oh, that man could not do a lariat.
He could barely bump.
A mango lariat. Anyway, so Kofi has been raised the locker room leader who's been telling Kofi Kingston and those guys that they can't dress in the locker room and stuff like that. Like they've really been ostracized. So now we got a match. It's really a typical match that you would think would happen between these two. I mean, take all of their stuff, like both of them getting their shit in, and here's your match. WWE is kind of notorious for this. I don't really like this part about WWE, is that when you get two people together who have like a really like crowd pleasing move set like Rey and Kofi do, they just tell them both get your shit in and do a finish, basically, which is not really how wrestling's supposed to work. So this I kind of
get why they do it though.
I mean, yeah, I get why they do it.
They're on the road way more often than any other company. So in order to be safe, okay, here's your stuff. Get this in. I understand, and there'll be exceptions to that here or there, pay-per-views a lot of times, or main events. But like I am as frustrated with that as you are. Probably less so since I don't watch their product anymore, but it was something that I had noticed when I stopped watching in 2020. But yeah, I kind of understand why, because they're more than any other set of wrestlers. They're on the road all the time, the wear and tear. The more you're in that ring, the more likely you are to get hurt. So, if you can simplify it, it's not exciting. It's not as interesting, but I get it.
Yeah. So, it's not really that interesting sometimes. And in this case, it really kind of wasn't, except then Xavier Woods he tripped Rey up. He got thrown out. The distraction of him getting thrown out for Kofi gives Rey the roll up in the win. And then they come back out and Xavier comes back out. They start beating down Rey. Then the LWO comes out I can't remember the name of their tag team. The other tag team, the tag team that's part of LWO with Rey, Legado del Fantasma or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But they come out and they proceed to get their ass beat by the New Day. So they kind of left the New Day standing tall, even though Rey got the win. I think they're just trying to protect Rey with the win, but give New Day some leeway or something.
Yeah. To stretch it out.
Give them some heel heat by beating up Rey, but Rey didn't really lose any face because he won the match. A lot of that 50-50 booking going on right here. So then we had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn had a face-to-face. Sammy's like, so how do you want to do this? And Kevin's like, no, Sammy, we're friends. And I know if I need you, you'll have my back. He elaborated a lot more on their friendship, but he kind of gave this weird, I know if I need you, you'll have my back. And tapped Sammy on the shoulder, and left.
Very, very mafioso.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I know you'll have my back, or else.
I do want to say right here, Kevin Owens' upperwear game continues to remain pimp tight, as we say in our generation. He has on a black and white Hitman hoodie that has the print from his tights down from like the shoulder to the wrist, and then all the rest of it is like it's like black and splattered with pink paint. I want this hoodie so bad. I stand this hoodie.
Just you describing it makes me want it.
Dude, go look up the images from Raw and see like Kevin Owens' jacket. Just type in Kevin Owens' Hitman jacket and you'll see it, dude. It's fucking amazing. If WWE is selling this thing in the shop, I'm about to go spend money in WWE shop for the first time in a long time. Like, seriously, it's so good. And I'll go on to the next match while you look that up because I know I'm going to get a reaction when you see it. So then we had Nia Jax versus Bayley. It was okay, but it kind of served more to show that we're going to get Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax at Saturday night's main event. And they just kind of brawled it out after Nia got the win.
Oh, dude, that looks amazing.
Doesn't it?
It's so 90s.
It is, isn't it? But it's like perfect.
It's so 1992.
Dude, that's what's in style now. Look around, dude. Our closets are about to be so back in, dude.
Oh, that's so great. It looks great with the belt. Oh. I mean, I know they're probably just going to get rid of that belt because it was a novelty or whatever, that they even brought it back for Cody's sake because he's been campaigning for it for a while. But, man, I love that belt.
It'll be around at least until the Rumble because it is on the hangy thing for the ladder match with the other title belt. So, quick spoiler, on Saturday night's main event, they had to relinquish them to be hung up. So they're both on there.
Cool.
It's basically just Kevin Owens' version of the Real World Championship from CM Punk.
Yeah,
AEW.
I mean,
it's really good though.
Which
I don't care.
Which in and of itself was the Ric Flair thing.
Yeah, it was the Ric Flair thing. I'm the
So-
Real World because he brought the NWA title or the WCW title, whichever it was at the time, to WWF and wore it. I remember being flabbergasted by that. Okay, so the reason I kind of gloss over the Nia Jax and Bayley thing was it wasn't a bad match. It just only got like 6 or 7 minutes, and then we got another 3 minutes of her brawling with Rhea. 10 minutes out of 2.5 hours, guys. We really got to do better. Like WWE is being way more egregious with it because we will be talking about it a little bit on Collision, how much time the ladies got this week.
Yeah,
and so,
you and I already had a conversation about this last night.
So WWE, you got to step it up, man. AEW has hurt us. They are obviously working to be better at what we are wanting with the women's divisions. WWE, you need to take notice of that. Now, here's something I really liked. We had Penta. Really weird because usually they'll bring somebody out that's debuting and then we won't see him again for like 3 weeks or a month. But no, we had Penta directly back on Raw against Pete Dunne. And Pete Dunne is very AEW stylistic amid the WWE crowd. Like Pete Dunne is a techer, man. He's a good freaking wrestler.
I love Pete Dunne. Absolutely adore that guy.
Pete Dunne in this match was as good as Chad Gable was last week, except Penta was Penta this week and not whatever was going on last week. So we had top tier techer Pete Dunne versus the best version of Penta.
It wouldn't surprise me if they cross paths in like PWG or something like that before NXT.
I'm sure
UK
they
became
have.
a thing.
I
mean, wouldn't surprise me.
If it's anything that's not AEW adjacent, they'll mention it on TV. So because they've talked about Lucha Underground with Penta, like they talked about all the other places he was at except AEW. They talked about even the companies that partner with AEW. They were talking about like, oh yeah, Penta was in CMLL and AAA and NJPW, and like they talked about everybody but yeah, about how he was like the big man at Lucha Underground. And stuff. Oh, they are so petty. It's hilarious. Speaking of petty, this is like the perfect segue because next we had a live interview in front of the crowd with CM Punk. And CM Punk just went on one of his tirades, one of the good ones where he like really, and he said, I'm going to get in that ring. I'm going to throw 29 other guys out. I'm going to be the winner of the Royal Rumble. They can bring anybody out. It doesn't matter who. Bring Hulk Hogan's dusty ass out, and I'll throw him over the top rope and kill Hulkamania forever.
Okay.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, you know what? That's... I'm not a huge CM Punk guy anymore, but I endorse that.
I do.
I absolutely endorse that.
So then, after that, we had Io Sky and Dakota Kai. We had an actual Damage Control tag match. Kyrie, Kyrie's off TV. They did an angle where she got her hand smashed. I don't know if she's legitimately injured or what's going on there. But she's been off for a minute. And now, so Io and Dakota went up against the worst named stable in the world, PFC, and kind of defeated them handily. Like, almost, I mean, it was only like a 5-minute match. I understand a 5-minute singles match, but a 5-minute tag match, that's,
Yeah,
and
it's
I don't know.
A great look.
They're not
Unless there
helping.
was a storyline reason for it.
They're not helping the Pure Fusion Collective. They're not helping them build stock at all. They don't seem threatening at all anymore.
Which they should seem the most threatening.
They should. They really should.
I mean, that's their whole thing, is that they all have a legit fighting backgrounds, right? Even Cora, right?
Yeah.
Like I know Sonya does, and I know Shayna does, but I assumed Cora did, but I don't know that for sure. I mean, yeah, she looks great. She's got a great look. But I don't really know much about her because, again,
they don't give them a lot of time to get to know them. They just come out and be like, "These are the hardest women in the WWE," and then they get beat in 5 minutes.
Man, I when I was watching Shayna Baszler be basically Brock Lesnar of NXT, but with a microphone, you know, I remember Tracy and I getting really, really tired of her being so dominant all the time. And now I hear stories about this, and I see how she's been treated since the initial main roster angle with Becky. And I'm thinking, how can you do this to her? Like, she's like legitimately probably the toughest woman in that locker room. And you've made her out to be a total joke. She must be getting paid really, really well and being okay with it, because her presentation is not what it should be. She should be tearing women apart and beating them with their own limbs that she's ripped off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get this. I don't understand what, you know, and I thought that, you know, it was just Vince, but like hearing you say this, Vince has been out of the picture creatively for 2 years ish now, like more or less. And like, I thought she was a Hunter girl. So what is the deal?
I don't know.
What is the deal? I mean, I'm not even watching WWE, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. Push Shayna Baszler. Make her a monster again, because that's what she is. She's a destroyer. Book her as a destroyer.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with them, but Jobber to the Stars is the way it looks like it's going. So then,
it's such a shame.
You know, it was kind of a short Raw. So we had Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. Rollins gets the win, but it's like a quick win, not really like a devastating move win. So McIntyre's like irate, and he gets up and he starts trying to beat up Rollins, and then Sami Zayn comes to make the save. He goes for a haluva kick on McIntyre. McIntyre moves and he catches Rollins. So, and then the show basically goes out on him telling Rollins, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I really didn't mean to hit you.
How many times are they going to do this with Rollins?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Like, oh, I can't trust anybody. Blah, blah, blah.
I would like them to give him a vacation.
So tired. Yeah.
Because I
mean, you know, he's not going to take one right before WrestleMania.
No, he's not. But he needs. God, please. I'm just worn out on the guy.
Yeah,
I don't know. I need him to go away for a little bit so I can miss him, so that we can like shake things up a little bit and not have him.
I mean, look at how excited we were about the prospect of Charlotte coming back when we did our last episode.
Mhm.
Like, she's been gone for a long, long time now, and every time that she'd taken short breaks and come back, it didn't go over because they either mishandled it or they handed her the title right away or they buried somebody else in the process or whatever. And now people are actually excited that she came back because she was gone for a significant length of time.
Yeah.
Give Seth Rollins vacation time with pay. Spend time with that daughter of yours, okay?
Yeah. Bring us back her mommy. Like, switch spots.
Yeah.
Switch spots, Seth. So, yeah, other than that, like, that was pretty much it for Raw. I dug it. I thought it was a good show. I really, like, I don't like the way they do PFC, but we talk about this every week. I don't need to keep hitting on this.
Yeah.
We know how I feel about it.
What would you do to improve it?
What would I do to improve it? I would repackage them. Send them away for about 6 months.
Oh wow, that long.
Give them like 6 months. Let's repackage completely. Let's Tau Alpha Row or something. Not that name. We can bring them back.
Yeah.
Let's repackage them as Nia Jax's new chain gang. Because we'll put her with somebody. Put them with somebody that'll help them build stock. And then she still gets to play like the heel group leader because that's kind of what she does. I don't know. I really don't know what else we could do. I mean, there's not a lot of faith in them from the crowd or the back, obviously, and it's unfortunate because all three of them are individually talented.
You know what they should do is they should utilize, every year. Well, not every year. Like this past year was the first year since 2020 that they really did it in any significant number. But they always like do spring cleaning. So if there are any significant number of women that they're just not going to resign and they know that ahead of time, have them take them out one after the other, have them break their arm or choke them out until their faces turn purple or whatever, and then just write them off TV that way, like they did with Ricochet.
Yeah.
Just do that. You do that with enough people, and you like give each member of them, have it not all be Shayna. Have Shayna do it one week, have Cora do it the next week, have Sonya do it the next week. If you're letting go like 3 or 4 women anyway, even if they're not called up to the main roster, if you present them as, local talent or whatever, even slap a new temporary name on them if you want, and then just have them utterly just take them out in such convincing fashion that they have to be stretchered out, then you give them their credibility back.
Yeah.
So I mean, and you can do so and utilize the outgoing talent for some good purpose on the way out.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not sure what should be done, but something has to be done. I'm not sure. I mean, everything's so stacked. It's hard to figure out where they would fit, where they would be more prominent and be able to build the stock that they deserve. So it's difficult. I'm not real sure what to do about that. So, but yeah, that was Raw. Other than that, really, like, I need Seth Rollins to go away and stop monopolizing the main event scene when he's not the champion. Like, Gunther should be in the main event. If he's going to be on the show and we're not like building towards a PLE match like that weekend, like we did with Saturday night's main event this week, I understand why he didn't wrestle this week, but Gunther should be like main eventing Raw. He's the champion. Why is Seth Rollins main eventing Raw over and over again? It happens like every week. It's getting old. It's like Seth fights everybody. That's the main event of Raw for the next like 6 months.
Monday Night Rollins.
Yeah, I'm not into it. And there's a lot of people that, I mean, it doesn't sound like his reactions are still big, but they're not as big. So I don't know what's going to happen here. He still gets CM Punk chance during his matches. Something, I don't know what they're going to do. But aside from that stuff, everything, and more time for the women, please. I don't think I'm being an asshole when I say that. Everybody wants it, please. So more time for the women. But yeah, then we have everything else like Penta kicking ass this week. And we're furthering the storyline between New Day and Rey Mysterio and LWO. we'll see how that turns and where that goes. I think eventually it's gonna be a Big E thing. Plot twist, maybe Big E comes back as a heel. I mean,
Yeah,
he wouldn't be.
and they'll be the newest today.
He wouldn't be treated as a heel by the fans. It would be like Bash at the Beach in '96. Like he would come out and everybody would be cheering. He'd be like, "He's here to save the day," and then he suplexes Rey Mysterio into oblivion.
Oh, you know what? They haven't been able to recreate that.
That would be the way. Everybody loves.
That would be the
Big E.
way.
Yeah.
That would be the way. Can you imagine? I mean, that would be a bold decision,
Dude. Yeah, it would.
to have somebody come off of that kind of injury and that kind of layoff, and having been the victim in that now infamous segment, only for him to come and then make up with them. Oh, the heat on that. I think Bubba Ray Dudley's head might explode.
It would be palpable heat. You would be able to feel it like the surface of the sun.
It would be atomic.
Yes. It would literal nuclear heat, dude. It would be fucking phenomenal. So good. And I think I probably just built up my expectation for it so much that it might disappoint me when whatever happens. But yeah, I don't think we really had any declarations for the Royal Rumble this week. I mean, but at this point, everybody's kind of in it, man. Like, think of a name that's on TV on Raw, and they're probably going to be in it. Same for SmackDown. I think pretty much everybody's going to be in it at this point. I don't know who all's going to matter. But as much as I love CM Punk and I want him to win, I'm pulling for a John Cena win. So that's me.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this last week, so I won't go over it at length, especially since we need to move on. But yeah, I mean, the unpredictability factor, though, is nice.
It is through the roof.
It's really nice. This will probably be the one show from WWE that I watch all year. It probably won't be live because it's on Saturday, right? So
yeah,
I'll be watching Collision. But I will probably wind up watching it the next night.
Yeah.
Probably failing to avoid spoilers. But yeah, I the fact that I can't really predict who's going to win makes me really excited. So I don't. Nobody declared. That's okay. We've got enough mystery among legitimately interesting and possible candidates for the winner, at least on the men's side.
Yeah.
That it's intriguing to me, even as basically a non-fan anymore. I mean, I wouldn't say non-fan. I mean, I'm not a lapsed WWE fan.
A lapsed fan,
I guess. A lapsed WWE fan, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah. Generally good Raw. Building into Saturday night's main event mostly. We're gonna get a lot of that. So, that was pretty much Raw for this week. It was good.
All right. That was the lockup. Now on to the shine.
That's right.
All right. It is time for the shine. The shine this week is AEW Dynamite. You got a stat card. I'll just kind of go through what happened. I mean, most of it was good. The opening segment was about 20 minutes or so, but it was one of the best openings of a Dynamite in a very long time.
Agreed.
You have Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega come face to face and remind you that continuity matters in AEW, and not just because you're a baby face now, that doesn't mean everything's cool between us. I appreciate the consistency with the character work that they do in AEW. It's been one of their strong suits since the beginning. Even when people have like a whole change of character, people often bring up stuff that they did in a different iteration of their character and stuff. And this was no different. Ospreay tried to apologize. Kenny didn't, accept it. And right as he was about to tell him to go, screw off, that's when Don Callis comes out. And as we learned a couple weeks ago, it is now between Kenny Omega, as far as Kenny Omega is concerned, when it comes to Don Callis, it is on site. He shows his face and Kenny just sprints right towards him. And of course, the same thing happened this time that happened last time. The goons came in, the family came in. This time, Ospreay just stays in the ring and just kind of watches for a little bit. But eventually he's like biting his lip. He's like, ah, man, I hate these guys so much. I don't care that Omega didn't accept my apology. So he joins the fray, but like the whole family is there now. So it's 4-on-2, and they brawl all up and down the building, which again was a really, really, really cool venue. In the Knoxville Civic Coliseum in Knoxville, Tennessee. Really, really cool building. I love that they're going and being, embracing their identity of the smaller, cooler venue that's packed promotion.
Yeah.
With the rabid fans.
Yeah.
And Knoxville showed up too. They pop for a lot. They pop for most everything. And I can't imagine why they wouldn't pop for this stuff, because this was great. They brawled all the way out to the back. For a 4-on-2 situation, the comeback of the baby faces was realistic because it was slow and step by step. They eliminated Archer by finally attacking as a unit, as a duo, and putting him through a table in one of the, like, right next to the merch stand. And then they go out and they get beat up a little bit, but they get away from the guys that are assaulting them. Kenny goes up this, like, I don't know, this truss, this like construction truss.
Yeah.
That's up there, and then on the opposite end of the causeway there, you've got Kenny Omega climbing up onto the wall, which must have been 20 feet high.
Yeah.
At least.
It was high.
And they both do, it wasn't in stereo, but they both do moonsaults onto their guys and a bunch of security. And it was freaking great. Kenny and Omega and Ospreay climb back up the truss as the bad guys are beating a hasty retreat. And they challenge them for a tag match, the two of them versus Fletcher and Takeshita in Australia for Grand Slam. I'm pumped about that match because it's going to be great. I honestly don't know how the Australian fans are going to react, because the hometown guy in that match is a heel against Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. So I think we could see a very split crowd reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting to me on its own merits. So there's that. But that was the first segment. First match was for the World Tag Team Championship, Private Party and the Hurt Syndicate, and this was much better, in my opinion, than the trios match they had that also include MVP and Mark Briscoe from, what was the last Collision, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Before that, because it was a little bit more. The storytelling was better. Like the Private Party looked like they were going to get an early advantage, but then the Hurt Syndicate took it outside and essentially eliminated Zay by putting him through a table through at the announce table on the outside. Like, I know that this has never been a thing in AEW, but like, why does that not cause a disqualification anymore?
I don't know.
Like, I understand, like, you putting somebody into the steps, that's part of the ring. Okay, I kind of understand that. You use the steps as a weapon. You pick it up and use it as a weapon. That's not a thing. But if you put it on the ground and shove somebody into it, I get that. The announce table, you can't even use that excuse because it's not part of the ring.
No.
It's a completely separate entity. But like, anytime anybody wants to put anybody through a table, as long as they don't set it up themselves in the ring, for some reason the announce table, the ring, the guy rings the bell, the timekeeper, their tables are for whatever reason fair game for, just put them through them. It's fine.
Yeah.
No
Yeah, no
DQs,
problem.
whatever. Don't understand that. At least it's consistent. I'll say it is consistent. It's not inconsistent from match to match in AEW that happens. I just want to know why that doesn't cause a DQ.
Oh no, you got
because
me.
that should very clely cause a DQ. But either way, it didn't in this match. So again, consistency. Zay got put through the table, and it took him a while to recover. And even when he got back up on the apron to make the hot tag, the hot tag was it was hot for only like a few seconds. He got some of his stuff in, but the Hurt Syndicate just bowled him over. Lashley eventually spears him, and we have new tag team champions. I will say this: the match I thought told a good story, a logical story. These are guys that not only hurt people but know how to in a logical, effective way. It's not just chaos. It's not just throwing dudes around. It's with purpose that serves their characters. I would very much though like to see Private Party be vindicated down the line. I want to see them win the belts back and have this story be a story beat in their progression, because they won it from the Young Bucks and it was this huge, great big thing, great moment, and then they didn't really have a whole lot in their title reign that was super memorable, and it feels like it almost got cut short. Now the Hurt Syndicate is hot, and there is absolutely logic that you go with the hot hand, but that doesn't mean that the Hurt Syndicate has to be so dominant that they hold it for 8 months. I think that you can get away with having them have a couple of really dominant defenses and then dropping them back to Private Party at Double or Nothing in a really, really hard fought match that really puts Private Party over and shows, like, you know how Mind Games 96 in your house, Shawn Michaels and Mankind, right?
Mhm.
That showed a different side of Shawn Michaels, that gritty side that people didn't realize he had down there. This could do that for them. It showed that gritty, we can beat you up too. We're not just flippy, small flippy dudes from Brooklyn. We've got intestinal fortitude. We've got toughness. I think that if this is a beat in a story that's being told like that, I think eventually that'll benefit Private Party down the line. I'm hoping that's what happens. But I think that the Hurt Syndicate is too hot an act. You can't not give them something at this point. You have to keep the ball rolling. So as disappointing as the title reign that Private Party had, I think it was the right call to move the belts, especially if they plan on putting it back on Private Party eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that, it was a good match too.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Storm and Harley Cameron speak to each other in Australian, and I make out about half of it. It was freaking great because Tony Storm's great and Harley Cameron's great. Tony encourages Harley to try and get herself on the card for Grand Slam in Australia. And so this sets up a later segment where Harley comes in and interrupts Mercedes Moné as she's doing some gloating. She comes in with a guitar and she's like, she makes some innuendo and she challenges Mercedes for the TBS title at Grand Slam, which Moné rejects because, well, let's face it, she doesn't even have any wins on TV. Why would she even bother? I mean, she's 4 belts Moné at this point. Like, at this point, you can't really call her, you can't do the cowardly heel thing where it's like, this is an easy win. Sure, I'll take the easy win. When you've got 4 belts, you can't be pulling that off.
No.
Because you got 4 belts. Like, you have to look strong. You have to look like you want competition if you're a belt collector. So, yeah, I mean, I get that. But I think that is eventually what we are going to get. I'm okay with that. I wouldn't even... I don't think Harley should win a belt as her first win. But I do think that going up against Mercedes is a really good way to get her over in her own. If she acquits herself well in the ring in front of her hometown, I think that'll do wonders for her and could give her that momentum push to finally get her some wins on TV and push her up the card. Jeff is here. Jeff Jarrett. Boo, Jeff Jarrett. But you know what? I mean, at least the good thing about this was that they prefaced this by having Karen Jarrett / Angle come up to him and say, look, you went to a place where I didn't really like last week, echoing the sentiments of probably the majority of the AEW fan base. So at least and this is one of AEW's great strengths, is that they pivot. I don't think that was written in initially. I don't think that, I think that was a reaction to the negative attention that it got online. Well, let's address this. Let's make this part of the story. Do I think that they did so in a way that's going to make people forgive and forget? No. But at least they addressed it, which is far more than we would probably expect them to. Ultimately, a lot of times this kind of stuff gets just swept under the rug and they pretend it didn't happen. Yeah. So at least acknowledging it is good in my book. But yeah, I don't know. He calls out John Moxley, and his music hits, but it's Claudio, and he's like, "You don't deserve this." Like, he hits him from behind, and he only beats him up a little bit, and then Jarrett gets back on the mic and he's like, "Oh, I'm still standing." And so he challenges Claudio to a match for next week and says, "If I beat you, I want Moxley for the belt." And Claudio's like, "Yeah, whatever. All right, whatever."
As you wish.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. Swerve Strickland versus AR Fox, a match with history. I love matches with history. This was good. I mean, as a guy who's seen AR Fox on the indie scene for years, it's always good for me. I've been a fan of him for a long time. It's always good to see him on TV, even if he can't get his visa, his international travel crap together at times. But yeah, like this was, and Swerve looked like he went out of his way to make Fox look good. So they were friends anyway, but these guys must be really close because Strickland made Fox look really, really good. Yeah. And Fox, his position on the card is not anywhere near the world title scene.
No.
So, I thought that was, I thought this was good. Ricochet gets involved, but it doesn't really work. It kind of backfires, and Swerve wins anyway. After the Swerve stomp. So it's fine. The real story here was the bit with Prince Nana, because when Ricochet came in, he was chased off by Nana, but it was a ruse. And Ricochet, once he got him back and the match was over, they were in the back. They showed them on the Tron, and he's got the scissors to Nana's throat, and Ricochet's like, "Yeah, this is not over. This is not over." What was the line he said? It was, "This may be Swerve's house, but you've got a new landlord."
Yeah.
And then he does his obnoxious little laugh, and then he moves. He didn't kill Nana, so I'll take that as a positive. I don't want to see Nana bleed. Don't do that to my poor prince. Don't. Please don't. He's my precious prince. Don't do that. Jericho's backstage with the learning tree. He blames Powerhouse Hobbs for their loss last week, which, well, yeah. He is responsible for beating you.
Right.
So, good on you, Chris. Big Bill steps in and he's all like, "Yeah, I'm gonna, Hobbs won the match, but he didn't pin me." And so he wants Hobbs on Collision. Later on, we'll see from Hobbs at a different point. He's like, "Yeah, oh, at Collision? Oh yeah, yeah. I'll meet you in the parking lot." I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right. This is what we're doing. Sure." There was a match scheduled that got canceled because it was Samoa Joe and Nick Wayne, but Samoa Joe couldn't get into town because of travel issues. So they just canceled it and rescheduled it for Collision. In place of a match, they had a local talent who was in the ring who got kicked out of there by MJF, who said that, I don't know, this almost seemed like he was writing himself out of the Jarrett storyline to a degree. Like maybe it was like a little too hot to handle, and so they're trying to find a way to write him out. But I don't know. He said he's as senile as he looks. Jarrett loves pro wrestling more than pro wrestling loves him, and back to like standard cheap heat stuff, which is far better than the misogyny that we were subjected to last week.
Hey, man.
I'll take that as a positive.
Yeah.
As he leaves the ring, though, that's when we find out who this local guy's opponent is, and it's Hangman Adam Page, who comes up, and they have a moment, and those two haven't touched since like the very first Double or Nothing, I think.
Oh, geez. Oh, man, that could be interesting.
That feud in your back pocket, especially with what happens after this match, because Hangman Page beats the dude with not even a buckshot Larry, just a regular clothesline, and he just beats him in like 10 seconds. And as he after the match, he hits him with the Angel's Wings, which calls out Christopher Daniels, and this part was excellent, so good. Daniels comes out and he does the thing that nobody in wrestling does. He takes accountability. This thing between you and me, this was my fault, and I apologize, and I'm going to leave you alone now. Just so you know, though, the doctors, told me that, that was probably my last match and that I shouldn't wrestle again. And just the look on Hangman's face when he tells him this, it's like you can hear him audibly say, "What?" And that's all he says, but his face is telling like 3 different stories at once.
Yeah.
It's like, it's finally coming back, and like his consciousness is coming back. It's not about the anger anymore, because somebody he truly still does care about, that he was beating down, A, thinking that he could handle it, and that's just the business, and B, that this was a persona that he had to protect himself. He had to be the Hulk. He had to be angry all the time to protect himself and his family. And now with this, when somebody that he cares about by his own hands is now no longer able to do what they love to do, as their vocation, as their life's purpose, he's responsible. And you see it weighing on him just in his facial expressions. Like, nobody in AEW, maybe pro wrestling, I don't know, I don't have that kind of scope, but certainly nobody in AEW tells the story with their face and their body language like Hangman Adam Page does.
Yeah.
Like, I know it on Blue Sky, it's practically a meme to worship the guy, and I don't really blame anybody for that, because he doesn't get the flowers he deserves. He really doesn't. Like, I think probably because of how rabid his fan base actually is. I think it's like a hyper version kind of trauma response. But yeah, that was great. Jamie Hayter versus Julia Hart was up next. They have a nice little match. It wasn't anything that set the world on fire, but it got a commercial break. So that's always good. I mean, they usually do. Like, most matches in AEW usually do, but there have been a couple over the last month or so that have been short enough, including that one squash match that I just talked about, where it didn't even didn't even matter. It's like, what are we even doing?
Yeah.
But this is back and forth. I love how, even though Julia Hart is diminutive in stature, she has such a presence about her, and the way that she wrestles it works to her stature's advantage.
Yeah.
She wrestles like, somebody should at that size. Stick and move, get in your stuff while you can, and then avoid, take them off their feet, that kind of stuff. And like, she's come so far in the 3 or 4 years that we've seen her on TV. Like, she's got such a presence about her. And they made a small tweak to her entrance music. Instead of the house always wins, it's the heart always wins now. Which some people, I didn't catch at first. I need to go online and see that people had caught that, and then go back and watch it. Like, oh yeah, that is. Oh, Malachi truly is gone then, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was a little clue. Hayter wins the match with a Haterade, and then gets on the mic and basically says, "Yeah, I respect the hell out of you, and now we're 1-1. So whenever you want to do it again, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's 8 months down the line, I'm there for it. So, and then Julia kind of looks like she's mulling it over. I think that'll happen probably sooner rather than later. I would hope that would be on pay-per-view because I think those two could have a really good match if they got some time.
Yeah.
But directly after that, well, almost directly after that, you get a video package featuring her and Buddy Matthews and Brody King. No gods, no masters, just violence. Talking about how the voice in their head that was screaming at them is no longer there, which is weird because Malachi Black was never really known for raising his voice, but whatever. And but yeah, they confirmed that they were going to be a trio without him. There was some interesting, funny stuff online saying, "Oh, they were walking a dog in that package. Did Malachi Black just turn into a dog?" And I accept this as headcanon.
That's what I'm going
because
with
I think that's funny. I think that's funny. Like it's like, oh, he effed around and found out he was, he was a little too into the occultism, a little too into into the black magic. Oh, well, he found out, and now Brody King is just taking care of him because Brody King, at his heart, at his Julia heart, is just a big teddy bear that wants to be everybody. And he wants to be a caretaker. You can see it with Julia. He wants very much to be the big brother to her. I love that relationship with them. That's so evident on screen. I think it's great.
My
he's going to do the same with that dog.
Oh, dude, my headcanon with the dog is that Malachi did some kind of black magic spell to turn himself into a world champion, and the gods laughed and said, "It's going to be an AKC world champion."
Okay, I accept that. That's good.
There we go.
That's good. He's a very good boy.
Yeah.
But yeah. Next up was Adam Copeland versus Pac, and honestly, if there was one dim spot in the show, I think it would be this. It was fine, but for a first time match with a guy with a veteran like Cope who has gone pretty much balls to the wall since he got to AEW, and Pac, who is pound for pound in the conversation for best in-ring performers in the world, I wanted more.
Yeah.
Like, it seemed like this was so slow. Like, why was it so slow paced? You've got Pac in there. What? I didn't understand. Like, what they did made sense. The story they told made sense, but it's just like, it seemed like it was like a main event of a WWE house show from about 2008.
Yeah.
That style, and again, I don't necessarily begrudge playing it safe considering what we talked about earlier with all the travel and all that stuff. Respect to the guys who do it. I don't want to dismiss what they go through, but like this, for AEW, which doesn't tour on a house show circuit, who only does televised shows, I don't think that this pace was a great choice. I don't know if Cope was feeling sore that night, or if he's re-aggravated an injury in a small way or something like that forced it to slow down, or maybe something with Pac, for all I know. I don't know, but I don't know. This could have been the exact same length, and they could pack more stuff in, and it would have been fine. Or it could have been $5 minutes shorter with all the same stuff, more condensed, and it would have been fun. It would have been good too.
Mm-hmm.
But as it stands, it just seemed like too long and drawn out, and like why it didn't click for me. But yeah, if it was me, considering all the shenanigans that happened after the fact, I would have made it shorter and done everything that they did in that match, but in a shorter time frame. That's how I would have done it. Because after the match, Death Riders, they pop up on the Tron. Moxley says it's a jungle out there, and for some reason, the Rock and Roll Express are here too, and they didn't say anything about it. Like, last week at least they made like a deal, or 2 weeks ago I think it was.
Yeah.
They made a deal that they were there. Like, why are they here? Like, it would have been nice to know that they were there, but they weren't in a segment or anything like that. But they're like, I don't know. FTR is there. They were clearly trying to protect them, but the Death Riders got one up on them. They were tied to chairs. What's his face? Gibson was tied up with, I think it was like with handcuffs to like one of those cages that's back there to protect the electronic equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Ricky Morton with his head in a bag, and they gave him a concerto because of course it would be Ricky Morton. Because he puts everybody over.
Right.
He makes everybody look good. And that was just like, I don't know. The Death Riders are on their way to the ring, and they jump Cope, and they just, they beat the crap out of him, and they take the, it looks like they're going to bag him. And then Jay White comes out to help, but he gets beat down too. And eventually they just choke Cope to sleep, and that's the end of the show. So, like, I don't know. I like Cope, but there's no reason for him to be getting involved in this. Like, this is, I don't know. I think that the what is it called? I can't remember what it's called, but they're releasing a show where Renee is going to be interviewing Jon Moxley and the Death Riders, I think. And basically from the clip that they showed, he's going to be a little bit more direct in terms of what his character is aiming to do, and I think that is sorely needed.
Yeah,
because he's been, you've got little bits here and there, and I don't want to say, I need it spoon fed for me, because I don't. But like, it's like, I don't know. It's been going on too long, and he's been talking in too many circles and riddles, and not really saying much of anything. So to have him say something directly, like, "Oh, I want there to be 1,000 Jon Moxleys." Okay, well, that makes you among the million hypocritical heels in history. But it, because, oh my God, can you imagine an entire promotion of nothing but Jon Moxleys? That would be horrible.
I would be awfully
horrible. Yeah, like, how boring would that be without the different styles and weights and flat characters and stuff like that? Ugh. I mean, but at least it's consistent with his character. At least it's plain English that everybody can understand, and it puts him in this position where he is very clearly in the wrong. So I mean, not that attempted murder isn't wrong, but like, I mean, it squares him away a little bit better. It defines him a little bit more, because I think that what's been lacking has been motivation. It's like, why are you doing all this crap to people for real? Like, you want them to step up. It was like, okay, well, people are stepping up. They are, Private Party won the world belts. Leo Rush and Andretti broke off, and they're finding some success. Like, what do Powerhouse Hobbs came back and is destroying guys right and left. What do you want? Because people are stepping up, and you're still like, oh no, we're gonna murder everybody.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, yeah. I hate that the thing that I didn't really like was the main event, but at least with this show that's coming out, at least they'll be fleshing things out. And I have trust in Adam Copeland to be able to tell a story coherently.
Mm-hmm.
He's done so many times in the past.
Yeah.
I feel like it will turn around, and it will come to be something more, I don't know, relatable by the end of it, by the time the pay-per-view rolls around. I hope it gets there a little sooner than later, though.
Yeah.
For my taste.
Yeah, I need it to come around quicker.
But yeah, that's all I got for Dynamite.
Yeah.
So, how about we go to the man himself? Go to the Morton.
To the Morton spot. All right, it's time for our Morton spot this week, and that is going to be SmackDown. So we started off with Cody Rhodes and Joe Tessitore doing an interview in the ring about Saturday night's main event and, what's going to happen. It was kind of just a basic interview segment, kind of going over a bunch of stuff we already knew. And Kevin Owens didn't interrupt or anything. So it just kind of there. So we moved right into the tag match with, we had the Motor City Machine Guns versus Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly have kind of been cheating and doing things for DIY lately. So they're, trying to get a tag match, a tag team title match. So they're going up against Motor City Machine Guns. This match was really good. Both teams are super exciting in the ring. They're both really well-oiled machines as far as tag teams go. They got a lot. Pretty Deadly got a lot of offense in, but Motor City Machine Guns did get their. They overcame Skull and Crossbones, catch a win. I kind of figured this is the way it would go, but the match was really good anyway. Like even kind of going into it, knowing how it was going to go, it was still really entertaining. Pretty Deadly are just kind of really entertaining. I really like the whole theater kid musical shtick, and also being like really proficient and like not unthreatening professional wrestlers. So
yeah.
After that, we had B-Fab and Michin versus Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. It looks like they did a little segment beforehand. It looks like Michin's going to get her final shot at the U.S. title at the Royal Rumble. I'm not sure if either of them will still be in the Women's Royal Rumble, but I guess that's the match we're getting with those two.
I think if you don't put Chelsea Green in there, it's a missed opportunity.
I believe so.
She's so funny.
Chelsea Green is more patriotic than most Americans. It's kind of hilarious. She's really playing up the U.S. gimmick. But then we had, they kind of beat up on B-Fab last week, and so now it's B-Fab and Michin versus Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. So they get ready to do the match, and then instead of them coming out, Kevin Owens comes out. And he starts cutting a promo about everybody sucking up to Cody Rhodes. But then Jimmy Uso comes out and gives Matthew a brand new talk too much intro. Because he tells Owen, you talk too much, and then smacks him in the mouth. They go to break, and they come back. And instead of going to this women's match, they go to Carmelo Hayes in the back with Nick Aldis. And Carmelo Hayes is like, I'm going to show everybody you kind of did me dirty last week. And Nick Aldis is like, well, we got a brand new superstar coming to SmackDown, so you could be his first match if you want. He's like, I'm going to show him the land of the sharks and blah, a lot of big talk, but he doesn't know who the guy is. So they kind of move on. And now finally it's time for the tag match. Okay. Look, if this is the way 3-hour SmackDowns are going to go back to that old format where we have all kinds of stuff in between the start of like the entrance and then the match, let's not. Can we just go back to 2 hours? This is making it difficult. But the match was pretty short. I mean, I don't even think I have to say it at this point. Women's match. It's short. But I don't like to dog on Michin or B-Fab or anybody that was in this match, but it just wasn't with it. There just wasn't a lot going on here. It was a really short match. Maybe if they had some time to cook, they could have cooked, but there just wasn't a lot happening here. B-Fab and Michin pick up the win, but it just really wasn't much. I think they probably, the stuff in between the initial like little segment and the match, it was probably actually longer than the match. Man, it's not
I hate when they do that. Oh.
Yeah, me too. And it's not a good look, man. It's just not. So, they then also at some point during that, they did a package for Braun Strowman and Jake and Fatu. And then Kevin Owens, when he came out to do his little promo, was antagonizing the shit out of Matthew McConaughey, which was hilarious.
All right.
Yeah, it was actually pretty funny. Because he like got on the announcer's table and Matthew McConaughey sitting right behind the announcers for like the whole show. And he's like, yeah, you're terrible. Just like Texas is terrible. Just like they lost to Ohio State. And McConaughey's like the #1 Longhorns fan. So,
and he's a wrestling fan from way back in the day.
Yeah.
Like I saw randomly. I think I probably showed up in my algorithm because he was on SmackDown. But in an interview he had on the Graham Norton show in England, where he was with John Cena, and so they were talking about wrestling, and he was going back and forth with him, naming world class era guys like Skandor Akbar and stuff like that. It's like and Baron von Raschke, and it's like dude knows his stuff.
Yeah, he really does.
He's a fan. He's a real big fan.
I'm gonna shoot my shot at him for this show. As I understand, he's very accessible, and I know pretty much every major agent in the country, so I'm going to shoot my shot. Fuck it.
I mean, why not? I mean, we can't pay him. But
people shouldn't be asking for money for interviews anyway. That's not how journalism works. So at least that's
Are we journalists?
Yeah, technically. I think we're just podcasters, but I think that's journalism. It depends. I mean, as long as we're not
I never really considered myself a journalist.
We're just kind of reporting the news.
My research is not up to par.
No. So then we had right after the match, we had another segment. We go back to Aldis's office, and Carmelo Hayes is still there talking all his shit and pacing back and forth about who this new guy is, and it's Damian Priest. Who is they have them standing in front of each other. Damian Priest is easily 1.5 feet taller than Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah, Carmelo's not. He's not tall.
Gnarly how much bigger
Damian Priest is a tall guy.
Yeah, and Damian Priest,
he's like a legit 6'8" or so.
Yeah, and so he's like, "Hey, I'm here to work. No time like the present to start punishing." And Carmelo Hayes is just like, "Oh well, hell," So then we go and we've got
Carmelo, you were NXT champion,
but now
look at you.
Now, here's where we finally start getting some hype for the Women's Royal Rumble, since they've done none. We have so many men's interests, but we have no idea what's going on with the women, right? So Tiffany Stratton comes out and she's talking about how, I'm the champion. Somebody's going to win the Royal Rumble and have to face me. And they're, of course, going to face me and blah, 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 which, of course, brings out Rhea Ripley, who's like, well, I'm also the women's champion. So maybe they'll want to face me. And so they're, not really adversarial about it. They're kind of palling it up a little bit. In fact, Tiffany Stratton posted a picture of the two of them with their belts on her Instagram afterwards and called them Strapley. So apparently they're like homies. That is really weird and kind of innuendo-ish, and I don't really like it. But them two being completely opposite homies, I'd be totally into that, I think. Because, metal chick, super prissy chick.
Barbie.
Yeah, Barbie and metal Barbie. Here we go.
Yeah,
but so they're interrupted then immediately by Nia Jax, who says she's going to beat Rhea Ripley on Saturday night and win the Women's World Championship. And then she's going to enter the Royal Rumble and beat Tiffany Stratton so she can have them both. Please. My thinking at the time was, please no, dear God.
Please no.
So
not that it matters to me anyway, but please.
Yeah. So then she's talking all that shit, and Naomi and Bianca interrupt her, and they're both going to be in the Rumble. And then,
why would they defend their belts?
Yeah, right. And then they were followed up by Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, who's also going to be in those two also going to be in the Royal Rumble. So this is basically them just saying hey, all of us are going to be in there, including Bayley. And then we come back from the break, and we've got Ripley, Naomi, and Bianca Belair versus Nia Jax, Candice LeRae, and Morgan. And it's basically just a big old cluster, because they've got Candice LeRae out there, and I mean, she's getting beat up by everybody because she's little. And then Raquel Rodriguez kept hopping. Raquel Rodriguez, I feel like, is the queen of bad timing. I don't want to say that about her. I feel like she has tons of potential, but every time she interferes in a match, it feels like she's doing it at the wrong time. And in this case, she did the same exact thing multiple times. So I feel like she missed it twice and then finally got it. So, but it was just a big old cluster, and it only lasted 7 minutes for a 6-woman tag. Jax, LeRae, and Morgan pick up the win. Not much to write home about, really. But then right after that, we have another video package for Charlotte Flair's return. It is increasingly not clear if she's going to be a good or bad guy. But they are
good.
I am assuming good. I'm going to cheer her. I don't care. But I am assuming good guy because a lot of the vignette, like the background noise, you can hear like cheering, and they're really playing up her titles and how she's a champion and she knows who she is and all this stuff and legacy and blah, blah, blah.
Inspirational kind of stuff.
Okay. But then they announce Charlotte Flair will return at the Royal Rumble in the Royal Rumble.
Good.
So there we go. We
They're
have
the Batista treatment.
Hell yeah. We have the date. She's not going to get booed like that.
No,
not by a long shot.
She doesn't have a Daniel Bryan to a.
I hope she comes out in blue gear. It would be fucking hilarious. So Jax was trading insults with the crowd. Morgan got the win for that team. It was then we had so in the DIY fuckery that's been going on, Apollo Crews has been kind of the one that's selling them out to everybody and telling like DIY did this to you. Of course, it was them. Mm-hmm. So then we had Johnny Gargano versus Apollo Crews.
Snitch Apollo Crews.
Yeah, basically.
What a gimmick.
So we had them both, them in a singles match. Tommaso Ciampa interfered. Crews was able to get the pin with a roll up. But before that, the match itself was actually, pretty athletic. Apollo Crews is a super athlete, obviously.
Well, yeah.
Johnny Gargano was a proficient high-level techer. It was a really good match. It was far and away one of the better matches of the week, technically, and in just a entertainment level. I'll be honest, as much wrestling as I had to watch this week, it was hard to pay attention to some stuff. And the hardest was SmackDown. Out of everything I watched this week, the hardest to pay attention to was SmackDown. And I know I have to, so I do, but it's just like, it was hard at some points where it's like, but this was like a really high point in the show as far as wrestling goes, this being a wrestling show and all. Then after that, we had Tama Tonga versus LA Knight. I don't know why. I think LA Knight's like tied up in this bloodline stuff a little bit, but the bloodline's technically a dead thing now. Like, the new bloodline's not really a thing. I don't know where Tongaloa is. He's been gone for like 5 weeks.
Didn't he get injured?
Maybe he got injured. I'm not sure because I'm not sure. I haven't heard about him being injured, but maybe he is. But he's been gone, so it's just Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. And so we had Tama Tonga versus LA Knight, and LA Knight came out and he did his normal shtick on the mic where he just like tore them down pre-match. And then they had a really good match. Fatu tried to interfere a bunch, and but Knight Knight kind of overcame the distractions, hit the BFT on Tama Tonga, gets the win. They tried to attack him afterwards, but Strowman shows up, kind of more pushing towards that Strowman-Fatu match on Saturday. It was all right.
What is it with Braun Strowman targeting these big old Islanders?
I don't know, man. It's like he's got a gluttony.
What is? I think honestly, it's a little racist. Not gonna lie. I think I just he keeps on targeting these Polynesian people. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's sus. It's sus.
A little bit, maybe. Then we have Damian Priest versus Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes has not been having a lot of good luck lately. And this kind of continued that trend because Damian Priest effed him up pretty quick. Like, it was. Yeah. It wasn't quite a squash match, but we knew what this was. Like, I'm sorry, like they keep trying to like portray Carmelo Hayes as him and all this. That's even like his gimmick, like he's him, like he's the one.
That worked in NXT when they pushed him as a serious contender.
Yeah.
He was having bangers with everybody on the roster. It doesn't work when it's not supposed to be ironic.
Yeah, well, it kind of is now because of booking.
Yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah. Then we went backstage, and Austin Theory and Grayson Waller are told they were drafted to Raw. So now they're gone from SmackDown, and now they'll be on Raw. I don't know what they're doing with Raw sometimes. Like, these guys, Logan Paul, like, can we stop, please? Then Then we get to our main event, which is Kevin Owens versus Jimmy Uso. It was a really good match. They kind of went all out with each other and like really did a good job. It looked to me like Jimmy might catch the win at one point, which the Uso brothers, individually and collectively, are really good at making you believe that they're going to catch this dub. And I kind of fell victim to it later in the week, and we'll talk about that later. But in this case, Owens catches the win because of course he does. I mean, we can't make him look weak.
No.
But then he picks up Jimmy and tries to package pile driver him, and of course this is where Cody Rhodes shows up. Cody Rhodes is pretty much like the messiah of keeping people from getting package pile driven, because that's all that's been happening for the last like 2 weeks since he got package pile driven, is that Kevin Owens tries to do it to somebody, Cody Rhodes shows up and stops it.
I respect that.
Yeah, I mean,
I respect that. I got that done to me. Nobody should have that done to them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make sure it never happens again.
Right.
I get that. That's how I feel about like medical school.
Now earlier when Kevin Owens was antagonizing Matthew McConaughey and all that, he had on that same Hitman jacket. But as usual, he has a very pertinent t-shirt for his match with Jimmy Uso, because he comes to the ring wearing a Naomi t-shirt. Like a Feel the Glow, like old school. Like he always, I don't get this. When he shows up in gimmick t-shirts for people who are still in WWE, he usually shows up with like their very first t-shirt. Like, it's like he's going back and being like, hey, do you have like your very first t-shirt in a 3X that I can cut up? Cause this was like an old school, like the neon sign Feel the Glow t-shirt.
So I like that. It makes sense only though, as long as he knows his opponent ahead of time. This doesn't make sense. This was an impromptu match. How would he have access to that? I don't know, but
still, I will take it, because his t-shirt game is just this psychological game he plays with t-shirts. And we're going to get into it more at Saturday Night's Main Event, because he continues this trend. I am loving this. Because I didn't know what shirt I thought he'd just show up in his KO shirt. I was like, he's just wrestling Jimmy Uso. But no, he's wearing his wife's t-shirt. Like, that is just, God, Kevin Owens, I love you. I love the man so much. He is the perfect level of unhinged for heel. But with that said, that wraps up SmackDown. It was a really good show, except like I felt like all the women's segments were kind of shortened. I felt like the women's matches were short, as I always do. I keep having to hit this, but we know where we're at here. That I don't like. I also kind of just don't really like the way they format and pace the 3 hours. It needs to go back to 2. It was really kicking before they swapped to 3. And now it feels like
it's not really up to them so much as it's up to the people who put them on their network.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, we will only have to do this for a limited time. Triple H has said SmackDown is going to go back at some point to 2 hours. I'm okay with that, because really, I mean, before they had to add this extra hour of padding where they're putting in matches that don't really matter and stuff like that, to any particular storyline, that 2 hours was cooking. They were really on track right there. So I'm really hoping they go back to that soon. Other than that, though, the show was really good. The wrestling, I mean, especially Apollo Crews and Johnny Gargano really like lifted up the average level of the show. I mean, they really on their own made it a better show.
Anytime you get to see guys like Gargano and Apollo Crews basically do Evolve stuff from 2014, like it's a good time.
It was a good time.
It's a good time.
So yeah, like I said, just with the sheer amount of wrestling I had to watch this week, it was hard to pay attention, but that's just literally the sheer amount of wrestling I had this week. It's not to dog the product at all. But it was a good show overall. So, with that said, I think, what is it? Time for the Hope Spot?
Time for the Hope Spot.
The Hope Spot.
Hot tag, or not hot tag, the
Hope Spot.
Hope Spot this week is Collision, and holy cow! Like I want to say up front, you're not going to hear much negative about this, because this was one of the best top to bottom AEW, TV shows I think I've ever seen. It was fantastic. Show started out hot. They were at Daly's place.
Real quick,
so
full disclosure.
The homecoming.
Yeah, full disclosure. Saturday night's main event included, this was absolutely my favorite show this week. No questions asked.
Yeah, I mean, Dynamite was pretty good. This was
something, man.
excellent.
Oh man.
It was really, really good. The hot crowd in a very cold venue at Daly's Place. It's always nice when they go back to Daly's Place because it became a very familiar sight during the pandemic. It was the home, and it's always nice to see that weird setup they've got for it. They start off the show hot with Samoa Joe and Nick Wayne. They did a spot right before the match actually begun where it looked like the Patriarchy were just going to beat the crap out of Joe and not even care about the match. But Shibata and Hook came down and they ran up, and they didn't run them off. They were still ringside, but they evened the odds so the match could continue. And honestly, I thought this match, for what it needed to do, was about as perfect as a little wrestling match you could get. You had Samoa Joe being Samoa Joe and doing big man spots and challenging Nick Wayne, and Nick Wayne, sticking and moving and being the little annoying POS that he's become, and really not even like hurting Joe, but just picking at him. Like even when he was kicking Joe's knee, Joe flinched and he sold it, but it was sold in such a way as okay, yeah, I kind of felt that, but you're still Nick Wayne. And Nick Wayne, I know I've said this before, but I think it bears repeating because it's absolutely true, and I'm going to bring it up pretty much every time I see Nick Wayne in a match on my TV. That dude is every bit the prodigy they say he is. At 19 or 20, he's so good. He is such a natural. As soon as he comes around, as soon as his promos improve, and maybe he probably puts on a little bit of mass, if we're being completely honest, that kid's gonna be a player for AEW in the years to come.
Yeah,
and he has so much time to that kid. Snatching him up preemptively to a contract at 16 years of age is going to pay dividends for them. This kid is legit. And he showed it in this match with Joe tonight because he played his role absolutely perfectly. Because Joe should just run the guy over, but he had outside help. He had little cowardly heel stuff that he did. It was really good. He even at one point looked like he was gonna steal it with a running code red, but he only got a 2 count. Runs into a lariat, and after avoiding it twice before in the match, the rule of 3 says on the 3rd time he gets it, Joe gets him in the muscle buster position, and then the Patriarchy gets up on the apron, to try and distract him or whatever, and Joe looks him straight in the eye and smirks as his boys pulled him down to start brawling out there. Hits the muscle buster, 1, 2, 3, boom, and it's done. That was, for what it needed to do, I think it was absolutely perfect. I don't think it gets much better of a short, big guy versus outmatched little guy match than that. Next was title champion versus champion with neither of their belts on the line, but it was Ring of Honor TV champion Commander versus Continental champion Kazuchika Okada. Okada's back, guys. The guy that was in the ring, and he's not a flashy dude, but the things he does with such precision that even that drop kick of his, it's so gorgeous that he's made it his setup move, a drop kick. He just times it so well that it's oh my god, he hit the drop kick. It's a drop kick. What are we freaking out over? But when he hits it, it's almost over. And he these two guys had some interesting chemistry. The coolest part I thought was Commander showing a little bit of personality, because Okada goes out and offers his hand at the beginning of the match, and Commander just I know what you're up to. I'm just gonna fake it and then walk right past you and basically do a little strut there. And Okada, he sells it, and he's I'm gonna offer this again. And Commander does it again, and he just gets Okada so ticked off that he loses his cool, and Commander, lives up to his name and takes command of the first couple of minutes of the match. You know, mind games. I mean, you're in there with the Rainmaker. Mind games couldn't hurt. Eventually, though, I mean, this is Okada's match. Uh, he takes a springboard destroyer that looks like it could have actually hurt him because he didn't land it right. Um, but in the end, after missing with the Rainmaker once or twice, he finally catches him with it. After catching Commander off of a springboard. It was good. It wasn't like anything, groundbreaking or whatever. Commander looked better in this match than he did in pretty much any match except maybe his Continental Classic matches.
Mm-hmm.
Most of those were pretty darn competitive. It goes to Powerhouse Hobbs in the parking lot, and he has a heck of a brawl with Big Bill, who has a backpack on for reasons we'll find out later. But it looked really weird to see this 7-foot dude with his Jansport on his back. It was so in a big gray hoodie. It was so weird. But yeah, they have a nice intense brawl. At one point, Hobbs rips a chain link door off of its hinges and it hits Big Bill with it. And there was no sign of the learning tree anywhere at all. It was great. It was like Big Bill standing on his own. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of it. Let's do more of this. And guess what? You would see more of it later in the evening. But next up was trios match, Undisputed Kingdom versus Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker. Once again, congratulations to Angelo Parker on the baby girl. Yeah, it was good seeing in the ring. Hope we see Ruby Soho again. She is sorely missed. Love that lady. This was basically twofold. It's set up. I think they're trying to rehabilitate the trios division and establish some contenders. Which according to our friend at AEW rankings on Blue Sky, there are some teams in this division now. Death Riders are on top, even though they never defend the belts. But I think that they're working up towards creating contenders. As of the end of this episode, our friend Mike has Undisputed Kingdom at 2-0 at the top of the division with Rated FTR also at 2-0, but against I guess I don't know how you would say maybe lesser teams. I'm not sure how he puts them 1 and 2, but then the Hurt Syndicate, Shane Taylor Promotions, Learning Tree, a few people under that. I mean, it's only the beginning of the year, so there have only been a few matches, but it looks like they're trying to establish with these matches a bit of a hierarchy now that the new year is upon us, and we can kind of refocus on those things. To that end, I think it did a really good job of it. They treated it like a trios match, as if they were fighting for something as opposed to fighting against each other. It seemed more sports based. It wasn't really animosity so much as we want the same thing, and this is how we get closer to that thing.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I enjoy Matt Menard's commentary, and how big a fan I am of Daniel Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot compete with having worked with each other for 10 years, like the Undisputed Kingdom has on and off between NXT and the independent scene. They're very good friends. They've been tagging with each other for literal years. All their stuff was fluid. All their stuff was great. Menard eats or not Menard, New Daddy Parker eats the pin, which is the right call, I guess. But yeah, the other thing that set up, they teased earlier last week that each member of the Undisputed Kingdom kind of wanted a shot at the TNT title, but they didn't really imply who it was going to be necessarily. I think probably mostly Adam Cole.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a step beneath him, but if he goes for it and puts over Danny Garcia, that's good for him.
Yeah,
it's good for Danny. So okay. There's something there. Um, what else? They set up a couple of matches. Max Caster is gonna have an open challenge. That's fine because he's probably gonna lose to whoever it is, so I'm okay with that. Top Flight, they kind of bicker back and forth about whose fault it is about Leo Rush and Andretti turning on him and everything, but Big Brother Darius is going to be taking care of business. He challenges Rush for next week, so there's that. And then here comes the segment that everybody's talking about, the segment that I was, oh my gosh. It only goes about 8 minutes long, but like Tony's in the ring, Tony Schiavone's in the ring. He brings out Mariah May and Tony Storm, and Tony's, playing up the I don't know you kind of thing, and that, meanwhile, Mariah May gets on the mic and she just dresses her down, like just pure sociopath stuff. Like, I don't care about you. I've never cared about you. Like all this, like, I mean, it got worse than that, but I don't want to go on and on about it. But like, it was like, oof. If anybody I had cared about had said any of those things to me in that manner to my face, I would have been absolutely crushed, devastated. Tony no sells it. It's like, I'm such a big fan of yours, like just like that, and goes to hug her, and May like just slaps her, like just totally just boom, and then she just whips her with the belts, like that's like her go-to move is she whips somebody with the belt, and she storms off, but Tony's still in the ring, and she's got the microphone, and she's like, "Do you think I forgot what you did to me?" But it's not Tony's voice, it's timeless Tony's voice. Oh. And the way that she does this monologue, this promo is just it's so much momentum and so much, oh my, it was incredible. It was incredible TV. The most difficult role an actress can play is that of herself. And I am timeless Tony Storm, and she just rails into her, and the crowd went absolute banana, and oh my gosh, it was what everybody was waiting for, and I thought they were actually going to draw this out a little bit longer than that, but the writing was on the wall with the name of the show. This was Homecoming. We should have seen it coming here, and Mariah May looked shook. Yeah. She looked real scared. It was incredible. My timeless Tony is back, and I'm over the moon. This was the best on a show with great wrestling. This was the best thing on the show.
Oh, by far.
This was between Adam Page and Tony Storm. They have the two best characters in wrestling on this roster right now, for completely different reasons, and it's just, it makes my heart so happy.
Yeah, it was just so fantastic. I wasn't expecting it right now. I really wanted her to show up.
Save it for Australia.
Yeah, I really wanted her to show up in Australia as Timeless, just like the music hits and it's her. But this was masterful work. It was just amazing,
magnificent.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I'm so pleased with it. Next match was Gates of Agony making their AEW return on television for however many months. By the way, Bishop Khan looked amazing,
didn't he?
He looked like he had hit the gym. Like, he always had a great physique, but he looked like he hit the gym real hard in his absence from TV. I'm sure they were probably on Ring of Honor doing Ring of Honor things, but like, the dude looked that dude looked like a star. Like, if you're going on looks alone, he's like, oh yeah, that's the guy. Like, right there, he looked impeccable.
Yeah.
But they go up against Buddy Matthews and Brody King, who up until they had been referred to by their names up until their entrance here, where they are referred to as the Hounds of Hell. So that I enjoyed that reveal. I thought that, you know, it would have been a little anticlimactic to do it otherwise and do it beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the way they did that. This match was kind of a low key banger, actually. These
I had
guys
fun with it.
really tore into each other. Toa Leona gets a big high five from me for bringing back the old trope of some don't hit a Samoan in the head because it's not going to work. Sold a pile driver. You know, I think he at several points they tried to bang his head against the top turnbuckle. And I was like, no, who do you think you're dealing with? I'm Samoan. That doesn't work. Like that's one of those like kind of racist stereotypes, but it's still not really harmful because it makes somebody more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay with it, and in fact, I readily endorse it.
Yeah.
like I love. I mean, all like the head shrinkers did that. You know, the Wild Samoans I think were probably the progenitors of that, most likely.
Probably.
Like, you know, Haku never sold a headbutt. Are you kidding
Not
me?
once.
I mean, he was from Tonga, but you know, it's the same. In the world of professional wrestling, they're Islanders, Pacific Islanders.
Yeah.
People of Pacific Island descent, you can't headbutt them. You can't like, and they calmed down on that. It's like once the Usos and Roman Reigns started selling headbutts, I'm like, oh man, come on, guys, that's your heritage. But yeah, finish comes with their double team in the corner. They get what's his face, Toa Leona in the corner, seated position. They do the sliding drop kick and cannonball thing that they did with Malachi Black, where Malachi did the other drop kick from the other end. But you know that's going to be their tag team finish. It looks like. Oh, it was great. The Boom guys are here. They're with Harley Cameron and Lexi Nair. Harley Cameron insists that it's not Boom and that it's Bam, which I found funny because she's saying it right to their face. Like, no, it's Bam, guys. But Taya Valkyrie and Deonna Purrazzo interrupt them, and they're like, ugh, I can't deal with this TikTok crap. Mercedes was right about you, Harley. You're nothing. You're not even in this match to determine the number one contender to the TBS title. You're never going to do it, blah, blah, blah. You know, and they basically set up the next match, which is the number one contenders match, four-way Serena Deeb versus Deonna Purrazzo. Why do I keep saying her name with a U at the end?
No
I
idea.
don't know why. It's so dumb. I know it's an O. I'm sorry, Deonna. I love you. Deonna Purrazzo versus Yuka Sakazaki versus Queen Aminata in the we haven't been on TV in a while, but we're still getting a number one contenders match because Mercedes has beaten everybody else match. So, I mean, this was good. Kind of short, but not too short. They did mention that Serena and Aminata had previous beef. They brought that back. I don't know what interrupted them to keep them off TV for so long. Maybe they couldn't. I don't know what it was. Whatever it was is a poor excuse in my book.
Yeah.
They should be having these women on more often.
Right.
Congratulations, they were able to do it. So they towards the end of the match they brawled to the back. So it was just Purrazzo and Sakazaki in the ring. It was fatal 4-way, so there were no DQs. So Taya Valkyrie comes in to help Purrazzo, who had been at the beginning of the match just dipping from the ring at every opportunity and letting the other girls handle their business. But at this point, she finally get her alone. Harley Cameron comes out to kind of even things up, and then Deonna goes for the armbar, but Yuka cradles her up for the win. So Cameron was directly responsible for Yuka Sakazaki winning this, and it looks like they're setting her up to go over Deonna, which I like Harley, but I like Deonna, and Deonna has her presentation has. If there's one thing about this card I didn't like, I guess, is that the presentation of Deonna is like has dipped.
Yeah.
Since her debut for a long time. Like she should be, if she's not in the title picture, she should be the gatekeeper to it. And it looks like she's going to be putting over Harley, and I love Harley, but like her first win shouldn't be over someone that high up, I think.
Yeah.
You know, But in any case, it looks like they're probably setting that up. And you could get the title shot next week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not at crucially, it's not at Grand Slam. So it won't be in Australia, which means there's still time to put Harley in that spot. Big Bill comes back out. He comes out to the ring and he lays out Hobbs when he calls him out again with the backpack. What's in the backpack? Oh, nothing. Just a bunch of bricks and his knee brace.
A bunch of bricks.
And a pair of handcuffs that don't work. But it doesn't matter because Big Bill is still a Big Bill. And so he just kind of chokes him with the handcuffs, which actually, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
And they brawl out. It looks like Hobbs busted himself open at some point. I'm not sure from the mouth or from the nose, but it was somewhere there. But they brawl kind of back and forth. Hobbs gets a low blow on him to kind of even the tide, and then takes him back towards the stage where he gives Big Bill the biggest belly-to-belly suplex I've ever seen through the table down on the ground below the stage, and it was awesome. I loved it. Big meaty men slapping meat all over the mat, all over the arena. It was freaking great, and I loved it.
Nice.
I love that they have not lost focus on Hobbs. I love that they want to keep that going, and Big Bill is going to benefit from this as well. I'm all for it, especially if they keep the learning tree out of it, like they were able to do this show for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And then the main event. Oh boy, the main event. Like, it was Konosuke Takeshita defending the international title against Katsuyori Shibata, who we saw earlier in the episode. But like, they just, ever since Shibata got signed with AEW, he seems like he's been kind of watered down, with a couple of exceptions. Like, he beat the crap out of Jack Perry.
Mm-hmm.
But, and he did some stuff in ROH where it seemed like he was his old self. But like, this was the Shibata of old. This was, before the brain stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Put his life on hold for 3 years. It was just two incredibly talented Japanese dudes just beating the crap out of each other with literally every move in their arsenal.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. Absolutely incredible. There were several points where I thought they made me believe. And I love that feeling. They made me believe, even though I knew better, that there was going to be a title switch here. Like, Shibata hasn't won since the year began. He didn't deserve this title shot to begin with. But it made me feel like, dude, he could do it. Like, I know TK loves Shibata. Like, we could do it here.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't. Power drive knee, Raging Fire, it was over. And then they quickly went off the air because I think they were an overrun by that point. I watched it on a delay because my kids kept me up late, so I don't know exactly how late it overran, but it's with the abruptness of the ending, it seemed like it went overrun, so please correct me if I'm wrong.
It might have been.
I think that's probably what it been. But like, this match, man, this was a main event. I really, really hope to see more of that Shibata. And Takeshita improves upon his legacy of basically having the best match of anybody's career. Like, the dude he just brings the best out of so many guys. Like, it was an absolute, it probably took a little too long to put the belt on him, but I'm so glad they put the belt on Takeshita, because he's so more than earned it. He's a phenomenal wrestler, and he's still young. So like, they're gonna get a lot of mileage out of this guy.
Yeah.
Like, I can't see a guy like Takeshita, making it in WWE as far as he's made it in AEW, because AEW doesn't care so much about the fact that somebody might not be able to speak English.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't speak English in WWE, it's a lot bigger of a barrier. Like, I mean, look at what my poor Shinsuke Nakamura has been reduced to.
Yeah.
Like, in order to get over, he's had to become the Great Kabuki,
Basically.
who retired in the 80s. So, like, I mean, I can't talk enough about how happy I am that this match turned out the way it did. I'm so happy. Really, really put the cherry on the sundae. It really made me feel like after the kind of letdown of Dynamite's main event, there's like, okay, we're rebounding. We're coming back. This is what I want. This is what we all want. It was a great show for the homecoming Jacksonville crowd. Good on them for giving what's essentially their hometown crowd a really, really, really good night of wrestling. Super top quality stuff.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed it myself. It was like I said, the best show of the week by far.
Yeah. Now that being said, we still have to talk about the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So let's head over to the hot tag and kick it.
Heck yeah. All right. Now it's time for our hot tag for the evening, and that is Saturday night's main event. Number 2 of our current era of Saturday night's main events. Pretty good show overall. We only had 4 matches instead of the normal 5 for like a PLE. And then we had a contract signing in what I guess would have been the place of a match. So let's get right into it. They kicked it off hot with Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax. The match was really good. Jax performed way above like normal in this match. They seem to be playing out a story of maybe Jax is a little too big and a little too strong for Rhea to just run her over like she does everybody else. And so we've got like Samoan drops from the middle rope, a few annihilators. She dropped a leg drop off the second rope. She's doing a lot of like throwing her weight around and making that work. And it worked. Rhea, of course, getting the, she power bombed her a couple of times. Nia did an annihilator onto Rhea's back instead of her front. And she tried to like climb up to do it again, but Rhea grabbed her foot and like climbed her and got her into like an electric chair position and dropped her off the top rope. And just, they did a lot of crazy shit. And then, in the end, of course, Ripley hits her with that riptide, a big, powerful fucking riptide, man. She had her up.
It would have had to have been.
Yeah. And so Ripley gets the win. Really good match. Both of them came away from this looking really good. Plus it got like 10 or 12 minutes. There was definitely a Peacock commercial. I have the commercial version of Peacock because my blessed mother pays for Peacock. And so I'm not going to tell her, hey, please pay for them more. Like, I don't want her to pay for anything, including Peacock. So I pay for a lot of her stuff, but she pays for Peacock. So I'll let her do that and I'll take the commercials and deal with it. But they definitely went a commercial break in this middle of this match. So, gave them plenty of time, which is abnormal for WWE, but they did, and they both cooked, and it was a good match. It really was. It was way better than I expected it to be, but it did end the way I expected it to end, because titles don't change hands here. They just they haven't yet. Changed my mind, WWE. Jesse Ventura criticizing Governor Abbott in front of a Texas crowd for how he handles cold weather was freaking hilarious. Coming from a Texan who hates Greg Abbott, thank you, Governor Ventura. I really appreciate you doing that, and I popped hard for it because I did. San Antonio crowd seemed to be about 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's. Honestly, that's probably a better reaction than I.
It was better reaction than I thought it would be, for sure. I thought he would get some booze out of that, but he didn't.
If you'd have put Ted Cruz in there, it would have been 100%.
They would have popped if he'd have said Ted Cruz is the Zodiac or something.
How is that guy still, he's so unpopular? How is he still your senator?
Because loyalty to the Mango Mussolini. That's why. So anyway, then we got Braun Breaker versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental title. They really played up the Sheamus, needs to complete his, his Grand Slam championship, and he's definitely going into the Hall of Fame.
He's been chasing that for almost 5 years now.
Yeah. Apparently, according to Michael Cole, this is his 10th match for the Intercontinental Championship, which means he's failed it 9 times. And unfortunately, tonight it was 10. He did not win, but it looks like they're still building this. Like we might get to WrestleMania with this. We really might. I have a feeling like Braun Breaker is going to make a big impact at the Royal Rumble, and then he's going to get eliminated by Sheamus. if he's in the Royal Rumble. I don't think they have a match lined up, so I don't know what's going on exactly. So I guess we'll see over the next week of TV before Saturday night what happens.
I think it would be a mistake to not have Breaker in the Royal Rumble match. Like the way that he hits the ropes, the intensity that he brings, it's on a completely different level to like a lot of the other guys there. I think that you would be better served in him being in the Rumble than defending the belt.
Right.
And I don't say that often.
Now here's the craziest part, though. The best part about this match was not the match. The match was good, as Sheamus always does and says he does. He put on a banger. It was a good match. Braun Breaker doesn't disappoint me very often. I find him highly entertaining. I love the guy, really. I think he is just a physical force. But Jesse Ventura on commentary is always some of the best parts of the show for these shows. And he said, so Braun Breaker's coming to the ring. And he goes, Braun Breaker's this physical specimen. He might be able to take out Sheamus on the physical side. But he's also a Steiner, which means 2 + 2 = 5. And I was like, hell yeah. And then Pat
that's
McAfee,
not exactly how Steiner math goes.
well,
but,
to his
it's
credit,
close.
Pat McAfee was then like, well, there's 3 of us, and that makes everybody have a 33.3% chance of being right. So, like, Pat McAfee kind of played. It's the only time I ever thought, haha, Pat McAfee was funny, because normally I hate the guy because he grates my nerves. But this was good. And Jesse Ventura, like, at one point, the referee, I think it was Little Nate, he counted the 3, but right as he hit that 3rd count, Breaker put his foot on the rope. And Jesse Ventura was like, he counted. That should be the end of the match, regardless of when he put his foot up, because the ref didn't see it before he counted. I mean, and he was making a good point. Because I have 100% called a 3 because they didn't move fast enough. And had wrestlers pissed off at me in the back, but I was just doing my job, and I was told to do my job that way. Jesse Ventura obviously comes from a world of wrestling where that was the lesson. And it seemed like he was livid. I mean, obviously he was working heel commentary, but this was very much an old guy thing that is imbued to us through our veterans that was ignored on live national television. So I could see where he might have actually been a little bit miffed about that. But he was also really like going for Sheamus to be, the winner of the match. He really wanted Sheamus to win this, like you could tell, like even if he was being the heel commentator, he really, really wanted Sheamus to win this match. And I did too, but I kind of knew it was going to happen because once again, we're at Saturday night's main event. So, but match was freaking banging, dude. They beat the brakes off each other. It was amazing. And it wasn't even the most brutal match of the night. We will get there. Because the most brutal match of the night was kind of AEW sicko level brutal. So we'll talk about that. So Breaker defeats Sheamus, of course. Ventura sounded like he was having fun on commentary. That was probably the best part of the match. Then, right after that, we had Shawn Michaels coming to the ring. Big pop, because, of course, San Antonio crowd, Shawn Michaels' hometown. We had Shawn Michaels coming to the ring to officiate the contract signing and the relinquishing of their titles from Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. So they get in there, they're face to face. They both got their belts. Shawn says, gentlemen, let's have a seat. And they don't move. And he's like, well, if you guys want to do it like this, then my job here is to get this contract signed and get your belts on the hanger. So let's get that done. And Cody just immediately picks up the contract and signs it. And then KO goes to sign it and he puts his pen on the paper and then he drops it and he picks up a mic. And he starts talking. He gets about 13 seconds into his typical spiel and Cody Rhodes loses his freaking mind and puts on a 100% dad voice. Bass, loud, no lisp. None. No Cody lisp at all. He was so mad he didn't have a lisp. And he just said, I am sick of this. I have to think about who I'm facing at WrestleMania for this title. I am done thinking about you. Sign the contract so we can get this over. And shut the hell up. Like, just... And so Kevin Owens grabs the pin, he goes down, and then he drops it and he picks up the mic again. And he starts talking shit. And here we go with the Kevin Owens having the greatest t-shirt game, because finally, while he's talking, they pan out on him and he's wearing a shirt that says Cody sucks eggs. And I love it. I love it. And the announcers explained the shirt. They were like, that's old Terry Funk and Dusty Rhodes stuff. And I'm marking because I'm from Texas. It's a Texas thing. Kevin Owens knows what he is doing with these t-shirts, man. And it's working. I love it. I love it. Plus, I mean, on top of that t-shirt, he has that jacket, which I love. I'm never going to not mark out for that. I love that Hitman jacket. So he talks his shit. Cody's just like, shut up. And he finally signs the contract. And then they bring a referee in, and begrudgingly, they both hand over their belts, and they, hang them up, and they go up, and Shawn Michaels is like, okay, well, next time you guys will see these belts is next Saturday night. Whoever wins is the world heavyweight champion, et cetera, et cetera. And Cody kind of leaves. And then I'm not sure exactly what happened here. I must have looked away for a second or something. But I look back, and Kevin Owens is like attacking Shawn Michaels. And he kicks him in the gut, and he goes to package pile drive Shawn Michaels, which has I'm like, no, please, not Shawn, and he goes to package pile drive, and here comes Cody Rhodes right on time. And he just comes back in.
Well, I mean, he was wearing a Hitman jacket.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
But
you knew what side he takes.
Rhodes comes back in. He kicks Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens sells off into the corner, at which point Shawn Michaels strips off his hat and jacket and come on. Owens sells out of the corner and catches a sweet chin music, a really pretty sweet chin music, and sells it like he died. Just rolls out of the ring. He's holding his head. He's just, and the crowd is absolutely going batshit. They love that. I loved it. I'm a huge Shawn Michaels mark and a Bret Hart mark. I live in a weird world. But
nobody says you have to. I don't dislike Shawn Michaels, but Bret Hart was right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, Bret's right, and Shawn's my brother. Shawn's my rest in peace dead brother's favorite wrestler, and I really do enjoy Shawn Michaels, and I really do enjoy Bret Hart. So I live in this weird dichotomy where a lot of wrestling fans, even when they like the same company, like to be a little bit tribalist. And they're like, oh, you can't really like Shawn if you like Bret, or you can't really... No, bullshit. I like both because they're both... One of them is Mr. WrestleMania, and one of them is the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Play with me. Okay, so anyway, it was fantastic. Crowd's going wild. This was just good. Okay, so then we get into our next match, and here is where the sicko shit comes in. Okay, because we've got Braun Strowman versus Jacob Fatu. And, okay, let me explain something that I never thought I would say, because when Braun Strowman showed up initially, Vinny was in charge, and Vinny loves his big men, and they cannot be made to look bad and weak or any of that shit. So for the last 10 years on WWE television, Braun Strowman, aside from the time he was gone, has been eating people alive. That's what he does. He even beat Bronson Reed. Yes, he had some help from Seth Rollins to kind of further Seth and Bronson's thing, but he beat Bronson Reed even. And that's been in the Triple H era. But here we go to this match. And he is getting literally manhandled by Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu manhandles this man. Every little trick a shorter guy could pull on a taller guy, like pulling their neck over the ropes and all that stuff, Jacob did all that. But he also caught him in a dead-ass run, and Samoan dropped him on the announce table. Then he picked... And now here's where it gets cloudy for me, because I'm not sure where the thing happened. Okay? But he drops him on the announce table, and then he shit cans him into the steps 6 times. And somewhere in this process of him getting shit canned into the steps, his nose gets splayed across his face. I don't know if it's actually broken or not, but it was all over his face. And then when it turned around and we finally got the shot of it all over his face, he spits and he just gushes blood out of his mouth.
Oh my!
So he is just, it's literally Swerve drinking blood level sicko shit we're talking about right here. Then it gets worse because the referee has decided that Braun Strowman has some kind of internal injury or something. He's just spitting up blood and his nose is splayed across his face, and he's continually bleeding. So like his face is just getting redder and redder in like this diagonal stripe across his ginormous head, and like he's got it all dripping down his mouth because he's bleeding out. I don't know if that's a capsule or what, but it looks real, and he's selling good. Okay, and then Jacob Fatu's in there. He's kind of taunting him. After all this, Jacob Fatu goes up to the top and does a fucking moonsault on him, like that 2-jump moonsault. And at which point he impacts, Braun spits more blood and is like holding his midsection and just writhing on the ground. At which point here comes referees and security and Adam Pearce and everybody coming down to try to, even Tama Tonga, the crazy guy, comes down and is telling Jacob Fatu, dude, stop, no more. Like, get off him. Like, you got to quit. This is too much. And then Jacob Fatu goes up and does it again. And then the crowd starts chanting one more time. There are like 14 people standing between Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman. And
that's the problem. You got to ride that line. There's only so much violence you can dish out before it crosses the event horizon into cool.
Yeah.
And you want to be like, oh man, that guy's awesome.
So,
and then they start cheering the heel.
Yeah. So they're chanting one more time, and Jacob Fatu, to his credit, just looks over the rope at the crowd and he's like, I got y'all, fam. And he runs through the 14 people, jump, moonsault, and just crushes him again. And then he rolls out of the ring and they start playing his music. So you know it's over. But like Braun Strowman is laid out. He is leaking blood from his mouth and nose. And there is legitimate EMTs at the ring, which I think is because he probably really did break his nose. Because it did not look right. It looked like it was splayed out. Like it was nasty. So they're really pushing Jacob Fatu to the moon. And this was everything I wanted in this big man match. This was the match I was most excited about. When it comes time for Jacob Fatu and Braun Breaker, I will be more excited about that match than any other match on the card, probably. I really enjoy Jacob Fatu's work. His promo game is impeccable. These last couple of shows, like they gave him mic time on Raw and SmackDown this week, I think. And it was just like walking down the hall towards the ring promos, like the camera's just following him. And he is just running that jaw, and he can do it, man. He really can. So he's got everything Umaga had, and he speaks English. He's
well, okay.
Umaga spoke English.
Umaga
I know.
could, yeah.
I know.
This is gimmick prevention.
But gimmick, he doesn't have that gimmick prevention. This dude is everything Umaga was, and a little bit of gangster too. Like, and I love it. I'm here for Jacob Fatu. Give me more of that. I don't care if, like, I'm waiting for, like, because I know we're going to get Braun Breaker eventually, but is that going to be before or after the world hears the I hate you solo around the world? Because he is eventually going to say, I hate you Solo, and beat Solo's ass. So is that before or after?
Performances like this that really highlight how much better he is than Solo too.
Oh,
like
God,
I've seen a couple of Solo matches here and there, and they're pretty recent. And it's like, what do they see in this guy that they tried to push him to the main event? I mean, he's serviceable, but I wouldn't say he's main event level.
I'll tell you what it was. Just from a purely business backstage perspective, at least what I assume it was, because of the nature of things, is that Solo Sikoa could go two places like Bash in Berlin and Toronto and London for, for Clash of the Castle and all that stuff. And Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga and Tongaloa legitimately cannot do those things. They're felons. They have travel restrictions.
Oh, I didn't know.
So yeah, so Solo Sikoa he's not a felon. He can go to other countries that allow, but countries that have a travel restriction on felons, like Jacob Fatu, he can't go there without like considerable legal paperwork and stuff like that. I'm not sure.
All of them do.
But as far as I know, the only one I know really anything about is Jacob Fatu, and I know he went to jail a whole bunch before he was even 18. Like a lot. And that's kind of why they're playing that up. Like, these are the three crazy guys. We didn't call them for a reason, is because they're like, I don't know about Tama and Tonga, but I know Jacob Fatu, as far as I have have researched is a legitimate felon or has some kind of travel restrictions where he couldn't do something like that. But Solo Sikoa is able to do those things, and he was able to be the enforcer for the bloodline and all that stuff. And really, I think his push is more of a result of, okay, you put the time in, you did this work that we wanted you to do, and you didn't ask any questions, so he's probably getting a reward for that. Or that's probably what this, head of the new bloodline thing was about. He was getting his reward for doing the work that he was asked to do without, complaining about it. But there were also other things at play. Like he could go places that other members that they could have brought in, like Jacob Fatu they can't do those things. So, and I mean, even Jimmy Uso with all his DUIs and stuff, he has a problem getting into Canada. I am sure they have had to do massive amounts of legal paperwork to get him across that border. Because they don't fuck around. DUIs, felonies, gun charges, drug charges, it doesn't matter. Even the smallest thing could keep you from going to Canada. So
Jacob Fatu arrested for armed robbery.
That's a felony.
Yes,
there it is. So, yeah. But still, regardless of what's going on with him, they're pushing him to the moon, and I love it. I'm here for it. I want to see Jacob Fatu versus everybody. Give me it. Give me it now. I would love for this all to settle and give me like Jacob Fatu versus Penta on like a long-term thing, like a 3 or 4 month feud. I would relish it.
Bring out that side of Penta that they haven't seen.
Bring out Penta Oscuro to the WWE.
Yeah.
Give me that. So then we move on to our final match of the night, our nice main event, where it's Gunther versus Jey Uso. And this is where I was talking about earlier that I kind of fell for it. Because at one point in this match, I mean, they had a really serviceable match, a really good match up until this point. But at one point in this match, Jey Uso got out of a power bomb from Gunther, hit the ropes, hit him with a spear, hit him with another spear, then hit him with the Uso splash. And here's where I was like, hell yeah. I mean, 3 in a row. Come on. No. Gunther kicks out. And then immediately 2 power bombs and it's over. So for a half a second there, I was like, oh, Jey Uso might pull this out. We might get surprised. What the fuck? And then...
I don't like that.
And then they just break my heart. They just broke my heart. And I said it on my Blue Sky, like, WWE are master heartbreakers.
I don't know whether that's an agent decision, a Triple H decision, or a decision of the guys in the ring. But it doesn't really serve Jay at all to hit him with 3 finishes and then kick out. Like it doesn't sell his offense at all. If anything, it just makes him look like a pansy.
Yeah.
Like I mean, the opposite of that is that it makes Gunther look really, really good. But it's like, don't you want them both to look good?
Yeah.
So I mean, there are ways around that. Like you can hit him with a splash and then have him be too close to the ropes and have him, instead of kick out, put his foot on the rope.
Mm-hmm.
That's seen as more illegitimate than a kick out.
Yeah.
Because it takes less effort. It's a heel thing. Gunther is a heel. So like, I don't know. Hearing that makes me sad for Jay.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, you are, whether it's your choice or not, your offense is getting watered down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, come on. Like, I know the spear was never his anyway, really.
Yeah.
But like, it was just something that he adopted in opposition to Roman Reigns. But like,
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, this was kind of the low point of the night for me. Just because of kind of actually how short it was. Really, it was kind of a shorter match. But I mean, that's pretty much it for Saturday night's main event. I will say, it didn't seem as much of a big deal as the first one. It kind of drifted down into like Raw and SmackDown territory as far as like the level of event it should have been compared to the first Saturday night's main event. They also didn't trot out a bunch of people that shouldn't have, like Ted DiBiase did show up, but they just showed him like getting out of his limo, and I didn't see him the rest of the show. So I don't know if that was a segment during one of the commercial breaks that I had to watch or what, but I did not see Ted DiBiase after he got out of his limo and laughed and walked off camera. That was it.
What was the point of that?
Yeah, I don't know. But so there was that. The body was obviously there, but that was kind of it as far as like, nostalgia. Alundra Blaze was there holding the women's championships that she threw in the trash, and they featured her on TV.
I mean, it's always going to be hers, isn't it?
I guess so, but they featured that on TV. They 100% were like, hey, this is Alundra Blaze. And they showed the clip of her throwing the freaking belt away.
Bygones are bygones, I guess.
Yeah, so...
I mean, she did that at her Hall of Fame induction, too. She dragged it out of the trash.
Yeah. Well, she was wearing it on her shoulder at the event. So,
yeah.
Which was cool. I mean, I'll give them that. But that was, as far as like nostalgia, like it was her and DiBiase and for a few seconds each, and that was it. I think they're really trying to get away from that mistake they made with Hulk Hogan. And obviously he was supposed to be at the show and he wasn't. And then they, slotted in Heartbreak Kid instead, which I'm really glad that wasn't Hogan doing that contract signing thing. Like,
it made more sense for Sean to do it anyway, considering he's local to the area that they're emanating from. Like,
right.
That just makes sense.
So, yeah, I mean, other than a couple little things, like the Gunther and Jay match not being quite what I thought it would be, everything else was pretty good. I would have to say Breaker and Sheamus tore the house down. Like, they had the match of the night without question. But Rhea and Nia put on the longest and the best women's match I've seen in WWE in a hot minute. Like, it was really good. And if Nia would keep up that level of work in the ring, I would have a lot more a give for her, I guess. I'm not really a big fan of hers. And I think that if this is a continuing trend, it will be good. I will probably end up being like a fan of hers. But right now I'm still really not, but this match was good. And I'm not going to, just because I don't like her that much doesn't mean I'm going to say, hey, this was a crap match. No, it was good. It was really good. And I recognize how good the match was, as opposed to my internal bias where I really, really like Rhea Ripley and I really, really don't like Nia Jax. And they still both put on a freaking banger. So I'll give Saturday night's main event a really good overall rating, mostly because other than the Gunther and Jay thing that was kind of disappointing, everything else was really good. Everybody came out and put on a hell of a show. If this is how they're fishing for casuals, they're doing it right, I think. So
cool.
So yeah, let's
gotta get those casuals.
Hell yeah.
For every 10 casuals they grab, one of them is fairly likely to stick with wrestling for the rest of their life, while they lose the rest of them in within a couple of years. But you get those, you go after the casuals because you never know who among them is going to stick around.
Yeah.
That's why you go after them in the first place, is because even if it's just a fad for them or a phase for them and they only care about it for 2 years, 3 years, but they're the ones who, when they're really excited about it, will buy all that merch up front, that kind of stuff. And then the ones that stick around are your long-term investments. So
well, with that being said, that was it for Saturday night's main event. So it's time for us to do like the vets do and call it in the ring.
Give it a second. And all right, time to call it in the ring. So as our listeners know, Call in the Ring segment is freeform. We do something a little bit different every single week. We thought with Royal Rumble being right around the corner that we would do something Royal Rumble themed. In our first season, there was an early episode that we did where I asked a bunch of my friends who like wrestling for a bunch of names of wrestlers from the Attitude Era and before. And boy, did they give me a list. They gave me a list of 82 people, or rather 82 acts, because many of them were tag teams. And we still had that list hanging around. What we did before was we took a random number generator. We generated a number. We went to that wrestler that corresponded with that number, and we compared them to who would they be in today's analog to that wrestler, their role in their time period. We still have that list. We didn't use nearly all of it, so we used it to compile a Royal Rumble. And what I'm going to do, Aaron has not seen who is on this list. I've compiled this list, again, using a random number generator. Whichever number I just listed 1 to 30. I picked a random number using a random number generator. The wrestler who is on that number goes in that spot. And then I just went right down the list 1 to 30. Aaron is going to essentially book this Royal Rumble as he's finding out about it. So, without further ado, the number 1 spot from Manchester, England, the Dynamite Kid.
Oh, Dynamite Kid's number 1. All right.
Dynamite Kid's number 1. And we have quite the contrast to the Dynamite Kid in the number 2 entrance from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, Dino Bravo.
Oh boy. Okay. So if this is the Dino the way I remember him last, then
this is the one that did accidentally break Bret Hart's collarbone, but before the Mafia got him.
Okay. So in this case, I think they're probably competitive right up until the next entrant, and I would say Dynamite Kid throws Dino out
before the entrant.
Before
the number 3.
Yeah, I think he makes quick work of him.
How does he do it? Does he like low bridge him, or
yeah, I think he low bridges him. He's
a
big guy and he comes after him, so I think he probably low bridges and sends him over.
Dino was pretty puffy.
Yeah.
All right, number 3 entrance from Sweetwater, Texas, Barry Windham.
Okay, these two are going all the way to the next entrant for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Dynamite Kid was what, 5'8"?
Yeah.
And Barry Windham was like a legit 6'4".
Yeah.
There's definitely a size disparity here.
Yeah.
Number 4 was a good one from Honolulu, Hawaii. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Oh wow. Okay. All 3 of them are still in. Let's go to the next one.
Okay. I'm actually going to just make sure that I cross out the ones who have been eliminated so far so I can easily go back and reference them.
Okay.
Number 5 from Asbury Park, New Jersey, Bam Bam Bigelow.
Okay. I love you, Ricky. But Bam Bam Bigelow comes in, he clears out Dynamite Kid and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and then him and Barry Windham are having a freaking knockdown drag out because that's what they do.
I see. Like he was one of my immediate favorites when I saw how this list was done. I thought Ricky was going to go the distance. Ooh, yeah, that's interesting.
Ricky's gone. I'm sorry. Bam Bam is probably one of my favorite. He's already my heavy favorite right now.
Very good.
So
I love Bam Bam. He was so underrated and so underappreciated in his time, even though he does technically have a WrestleMania main event.
Yeah.
Number 6 from Denton, Texas, Kerry Von Erich.
Oh boy. Okay. Oh God, is this Texas Tornado Kerry or is this Kerry?
This is whichever version you like best.
Okay. We'll go with regular Kerry then, because Texas Tornado Kerry was
before the accident,
missing a step in a leg. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kerry, house of fire as soon as he hits the ring, of course. But they all stay till the next entrant.
All right. Well, that's probably good for them because the next entrant from Norfolk, Virginia, Tugboat.
Oh man. Okay, so
he's the master of shocks.
Tugboat comes in and immediately falls over. And then
there's no wall there.
And I will say that the 3 guys who are currently in the ring get rid of him pretty quickly. So
they do the team.
Yeah, they team up.
Team up on the big guy thing.
Yeah, go ahead and I mean those guys are strong enough to do it. So yeah.
I mean, one of them is Bam Bam.
Yeah.
And Barry Windham's a big dude, and Kerry Von Erich looked like a superhero.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, I hope they're in the mood
now,
to continue along with the teamwork because number 8 from the Argentinian Andes, Giant Gonzalez.
Same fate immediately. He gets in and has. I'm sorry. I despise the Giant Gonzalez so much. He has a smaller time in the Rumble than Santino Marella. He is immediately throwing, like he steps over the ring and immediately it's clotheslined out by Bam Bam doing like a backflip clothesline. Like just whatever the most epic way this could happen, he's got to go immediately. Sorry, Giant Gonzalez. If you somehow hear this, dude, I saw you live against Ric Flair and it was great, but everything else I saw you do on television was not good.
Yeah, I mean, he really should have stuck to basketball, huh?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. All right. Well, coming in, presumably to avenge his tag team partner from Leeds, England, Davey Boy Smith.
Oh, okay. Davey Boy Smith comes in. This is where. Okay, so we're pairing off now. So it's Davey Boy and Wyndham, and
Kerry and Bam
Bam, and they're going. And we'll say Wyndham goes out to Bulldog because I'm a Bulldog stan.
I love British Bulldog. I really wish that he'd gotten off the drugs.
Yeah.
Number 10 from Mudlick, Kentucky, Hillbilly Jim.
Hillbilly Jim. Okay. Okay. I love Kerry Von Erich, but I don't want him to win this. So here's how this goes. Hillbilly Jim comes to the ring with his bucket of slop. It immediately gets dropped on his head, but splashes slop everywhere. So he's got the bucket on his head. There's slop all over the ring. Kerry Von Erich goes to throw him out because he's got a bucket on his head and slips on the stuff,
the slop,
and they both go out.
Oh no!
So
Kerry Oh,
Hillbilly
you were
Jim
a
gone
NWA
too.
World Champion. That is undignified.
I love Kerry Von Erich, but this I just not in this match. I'm sorry. Nah, like I just.
All right, number 11 from Cincinnati, Ohio, Brian Pillman.
Oh, Brian Pillman. Okay.
And you can take your pick whether you want Flying Brian or Loose Cannon. It can't be both.
I obviously want Loose Cannon. That's my favorite Pillman. I love Flying Brian. Don't get me wrong, but Loose Cannon is definitely my favorite version of Pillman.
What a Hollywood Blonde.
Yeah. See, Pillman. Okay. Twister. Pillman comes in. Him and Bulldog are like, and they hug because Heart Foundation, right?
Okay.
And then Pillman throws him out.
Oh, no. So he's alone in there with Bam Bam.
So, yeah, it's just Bam Bam and Pillman, and they're doing their thing. So
Pillman probably playing keep away.
Yeah, easily.
So it's just the two of them in the ring now. And when number 12 entrant from Chicago, Illinois, Road Warrior Hawk.
Oh God. Okay. Road Warrior Hawk comes in and is immediately cut off by Bam Bam, and they're fighting, and Pillman is just kind of chilling in the corner because let them fight.
Right. Yeah. Probably playing to the crowd.
Yeah.
Look at those suckers.
Look at these suckers doing it. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Then number 13 from Paris Island, South Carolina, Sergeant Slaughter.
All right. Okay. Sergeant Slaughter comes in. I want Iraqi sympathizer Sergeant Slaughter.
Oh, you're going for the bold take.
Heel Sergeant Slaughter shows up. And
does he have the Sheik too?
No.
Does he have the Sheik with him?
Sheik.
That's too bad because you will see why that's too bad in several entrances down the line.
So Iraqi sympathizer Sergeant Slaughter is here. He comes in, he spies Pillman kind of avoiding the fight and takes it to him. So now we've got two fights going on.
All right. From Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, Iron Mike Sharp.
Iron Mike Sharp. Oh my gosh. Okay. He comes in. He draws the ire of Bam Bam. See, who do we got? We got Bam Bam and Pillman.
Bam Bam, Pillman, Road Warrior Hawk, and Sergeant Slaughter
Okay.
are in the ring.
He draws the ire of Bam Bam. While him and Bam Bam and damn it, who was this guy again?
Iron
Mike Sharp. Okay. Bam Bam and Sharp are fighting. Road Warrior was a hawk or animal? Hawk. Okay. Hawk is, he goes after both of them because they're on the ropes. And Bam Bam ducks him and he drops Sharp. But as soon as he drops Iron Mike Sharp over the ropes and he's leaned over the ropes, Bam Bam takes advantage of that and drops Hawk too.
Okay.
So there goes Hawk and Iron Mike Sharp.
Okay, you'll like this one. Number 15 from Huntsville, Alabama, beautiful Bobby Eaton.
All right. So Bobby Eaton comes in and man. I think he just starts slugging it out with Bam Bam. Sergeant Slaughter and Pillman are occupied, so it's Bam Bam and beautiful Bobby, who I believe have fought before and was good. So
most likely, I imagine.
Yeah.
At number 16 from Halstead Street in Chicago, Illinois, One Man Gang.
Okay. One Man Gang comes in. He spots Bam.
Wait. Do you actually? I'm gonna give you a choice here. Do you want One Man Gang, or do you want Akeem the African?
No, it's One Man Gang. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that dissing on Dusty shit. We don't do that here. So One Man Gang shows up. Bam Bam turns around, sees him. Spider-Man spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
After that little bit of silliness, everybody kind of comes to realize that that's the biggest guy in the ring and he's got to go. So One Man Gang is gone maybe after a minute.
Okie dokes. Okay, I'm gonna test you here.
Okay.
Number 17 from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Arn Anderson.
Oh my God. Okay. This would be perfect. Okay. Arn comes in. Sergeant Slaughter's been kind of shit canned. He's laying out somewhere, so Pillman's free. Arn comes in.
Okay.
He stands face to face with Pillman. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out the finger gun and points it at Pillman. Pillman reaches into his trunks and pulls out a real gun, brains Arn with it, and throws him over. And then drops the gun under the ropes.
Oh, no.
Pillman with the gun.
I love it, but I hate it.
Hey, it wasn't scissors, okay?
Oh, I love it, but I hate it. Okay. I'm glad you got rid of the gun.
Yeah, you got rid of the gun. So you saw Pillman gonna run around shooting everybody in the Royal Rumble. He just brains Arn Anderson and throws him over.
All right. Number 18 from Parts Unknown, Demolition Smash.
Oh man, here's a hard one because I've met this guy. Okay, Demolition Smash. I see. This is where he would be.
Do you want Smash, or do you want Hole in One, or do you want the Repo Man?
Let's go Repo Man. I'm going to Repo
Okay.
Man because this is where normally, if Hawk was still in the match, they would have an ultimate, Road Warrior versus Team Road Warrior standoff. But that's not what we're going to get here because Hawk's already gone. So I want the Repo Man version of him because he's going to have to go quick. So before the next entrant, he's gone. I'm not sure how. I think probably Bam Bam. Bam Bam's going to have the most eliminations in this probably.
Probably.
Unless Brock Lesnar shows up. Bam Bam's probably going to have the most eliminations.
Nope, he is post Attitude Era.
Okay.
He will not be showing
Okay,
up.
cool.
But you know who will be? From Pensacola, Florida, Robert Gibson.
Robert Gibson. Okay.
No hot tags for you tonight, Robbie.
So he shows up with Ricky. I don't know if Ricky's going to be in the match, but he shows up with Ricky anyway.
He's not. I'll give you that one.
So Ricky's not in the match. He shows up with Ricky anyway. Robert is in the ring. He's being picked on by Sergeant Slaughter. He's about to go over the top. Ricky slides in. They bounce Sergeant Slaughter off the ropes. Double drop kick. He's out.
Oh, I dig it.
And then Morton powders, and that's probably where he's going to stay for the rest of the match. But that's how we get rid of Sergeant Slaughter. And huge crowd pop because double drop kick and Iraqi sympathizer.
True.
There we go.
Number 20 from Vero Beach, Florida, the Red Rooster.
Oh my God, I hate the Red Rooster so much. And guess what? So does everybody else in the match because he immediately gets the ire of everyone. They grab him up by his little red mohawk and they throw him out.
The exact opposite end of the spectrum. And number 21 from Brandon, Florida, Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff.
Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. Paulie gets in the ring. Him and Bam Bam start going at it. We're getting to the next entrant for sure. Paulie is staying right there. I am a Paul Orndorff stan, in case anybody doesn't know.
All right.
I love Paul Orndorff.
All right. Number 22 from Austin, Texas, Bart Gunn.
Bart Gunn. All right.
There's no butterbean.
Bart Gunn
so you don't have to worry about that.
Bart Gunn shows up in his Brawl for All wear. Gloves and everything.
Okay. Ooh, somebody's gonna get
knocked out. Okay, so who's all left right now?
Bam Bam, Pillman, Eaton, Gibson, and Orndorff.
Okay. Unfortunately, Gibson is in the way. Gibson catches the knockout. So Gibson is over the top rope with a nice hardcore uppercut. But then the guy with the gloves who can't hold on to the ropes is immediately shit-canned by Bam Bam. Like he knocks out Robert, but then he's like, oh, I can't grab anything. And Bam Bam's like, okay. So there we go. Bam Bam gets another elimination.
All right. Well, next up at number 23 is a guy who doesn't need boxing gloves to throw a solid punch. From Tocula, Mexico, Tito Santana.
All right, Tito's in. Okay. Well, he's immediately going to start fighting with Mr. Wonderful, and then we're going to move on to the next entrant.
Well, the next entrant is interesting. Now that Paul is still in the ring, he's going to have a little help in the form of number 24 from Kansas City, Missouri, Bob Orton.
All right.
Jr.
All right. Bobby and Wonderful go to cleaning house. So this is where we lose Bobby Eaton. And this is where who else is in the match still?
Hang on. I gotta cross them out. Bam Bam, Pillman, and Tito.
Tito 2.
Are the other three. And Tito 2.
Tito 2. So they're
and
now
I was hoping he would last longer.
But now they're kind of surrounded by the other guys. So let's see who comes next.
Okay. Wow. This could get interesting actually. From Asbury Park, New Jersey as well. Skip. Like Skip and Zip Body Donna Skip? Yeah. I mean, you can have him be Chris Candido if you'd like.
No, okay, yeah, it's definitely going to be Chris Candido. Okay, first of all, yeah, because I don't do that Body Donna shit. Okay, so Chris Candido comes in. He's a serviceable hand, so he's going to stay for a minute.
He has triple threat history with Bam Bam.
Mm-hmm, yeah, so he's got Bam Bam on his side. So it's like him and Bam Bam and Orton and Orndorff are kind of, fighting it out. The other guys
with
are
Pillman skulking
Pillman
around
is still
somewhere.
skulking around like a rat. He may have even powdered at this point and be outside.
Okay. Now the number 26 is why I was disappointed that the Sheik didn't come to the ring. But since he got eliminated anyway, it doesn't matter. I wanted to see him face off against number 26 from Gary, Indiana, B. Brian Blair.
Oh, God, B. Brian Blair.
Oh,
Okay.
the Sheik hated B.
Oh,
Brian
God,
Blair.
she did hate B. Brian Blair. So
He had nothing but glowing things to say about Jim Brunzell, but he hated B. Brian Blair.
okay, so B. Brian Blair gets in the ring. He tries to clothesline Bam Bam to zero effect and gets suplexed over the top rope by Chris Candido.
Got it. And number 27 from Parts Unknown, Demolition Axe.
All right, Demolition Axe is here. There's still not another Road Warrior, so what do? I think he comes in and maybe he grabs up Pillman from the outside and throws him in the ring. Get your ass in there. Goes after him. And we'll say he goes a little too hard and Pillman monkey flips him off. Like out off the top. Like not off the top, but
Got
like,
it.
he's coming at Pillman.
Over the rope.
Yeah, Pillman just over the rope monkey flips him. No problem. Because Pillman could absolutely do that. So, yeah. We'll call that a Pillman.
Number 28, avenging his cousin from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ole Anderson.
Okay, so Ole comes out and he's pissed. He's obviously going after Pillman. Pillman is frantically looking for the gun he dropped earlier.
Oh, no. Except he's going to need to actually
shoot Ole, yeah. Ole, we're going to leave that for a second. Maybe Ole's chasing him around or something, but Ole would be a good ring general at this point in the
circling
match.
the ring.
So yeah, we're going to keep Ole in there for just a little bit.
Okay. Number 29, getting close to the end.
Okay.
I'm going to warn you right now. It doesn't get better from here.
Okay.
From the island of Crete, Mantar.
Oh gosh. Okay.
With his velvet singlet and his stupid hair.
Okay. So Mantar's running down to the ring. Pillman is being chased outside by Ole. Pillman slides into the ring. Mantar goes to clothesline him. He ducks. Mantar catches Ole. Ole grabs Mantar. They both go over.
It's just too bad that Tito still wasn't here, so you couldn't do the bullfighting spot.
Ah, God, that would be great. Gosh, see if I'd known beforehand that would happen. But
yeah,
I'm booking it on the fly here.
Oh, number 30.
Here we go, big number 30.
From the circus, Doink the Clown.
Oh, Doink. Oh, okay. First of all, I'm a Doink guy. I love Doink. One of the very first professional wrestling shows that I ever worked on, Doink was on the card. He's very nice to me. He was kind of fucked up, but he was very nice to me.
Well, that's
I'm sure he was on drugs, but yeah, like him and Jake the Snake were both there. They were both very extremely high. Jake was a dick and Doink was nice. That's just the difference between the two guys. Now I'm sure Jake's nice now or was. Didn't he pass away recently? No, he didn't pass away. No,
he's still with us.
So
somehow.
Jake, I'm sure now.
Well, thanks to DDP. Yeah.
I'm sure now Jake is very nice, but back then he was a fucking asshole. And I'm sure if I told him that, he would apologize. So I'm sure he's very nice now.
Yeah. He joins at number 30 when the field that's left over is Bam Bam Bigelow, Brian Pillman, Paul Orndorff, Bob Orton Jr., and Chris Candido.
And then Doink. Okay. So we got 6 of the 30
6.
are remaining. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Bam Bam, Orton, Orndorff, Pillman, Doink, and who was that 6th one?
Candido.
Okay. Doink comes out also with a bucket. And
well, yeah.
We think it's slop, of course. And of course it isn't. It's full of like long ribbons or whatever. So he goes to throw the slop at Bam Bam, and Bam Bam is like, the hell with that. And he ducks out of the way, At which point, Candido gets a face full of streamers. Doesn't know what the hell to do. He's, doing the wild flailing. He's caught in the streamers. At which point, Doink just big clown shoes him right over the top rope. Like just a nice flat Doink kick over the top rope. So there goes
Candido.
Candido.
Doink and Bam Bam have a lot of history.
Doink and Bam Bam have a lot of history. And now because Doink has gotten rid of Candido, Bam Bam and Doink are having at it. In the meantime, we've got
Orndorff, Orton, and Pillman.
Orndorff and Orton are, of course, beating the shit out of Pillman. But this all comes into the middle of the ring into a giant melee. We've got the 2 guys and the 3 guys, and they're all fighting each other. And eventually not even fighting the person they were originally fighting. They're just kind of everybody for everybody.
Defending themselves at
that point. At this point, in the confusion, Doink is able to, I don't know, maybe he pulls out a rubber chicken or something and pisses off Bob Orton Jr. And he ducks out under the ropes, and Orton reaches over the top to grab him, and he grabs Orton and pulls him out. So Orton's gone.
That sounds like a thing that could definitely happen.
And then Doink gets back in the ring where he has drawn the ire of Mr. Wonderful now, who immediately pushes his wig back over that top rope and kicks the shit out of him. So he beats up Doink. He throws Doink out. So now we've got Orndorff, Bam Bam, and Pillman, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Orndorff, Bam Bam, and Pillman.
Correct,
here is our triumvirate. They are sitting in the ring staring at each other. Man, this is where
I actually like this final three, honestly.
Final three too. Unfortunately, Bam Bam, Mr. Wonderful, when he was a heel, was a complete bastard. Okay, but now I liked him. I remember him as a good guy because I liked him. But in this case, Bam Bam and Pillman know how much of a bastard he is, so he goes next. In a double team. So then we have ECW alums, Bam Bam and Pillman staring across the ring from each other. I want to say at this point they go probably another 10 minutes because this would be a match. This would be a good match. So I say they go another 10 minutes. They both get their shit in, Flying Brian does some flying he's not Flying Brian, but he does some flying. Let's get it in there. God, this is where it gets complicated. Like how does this end?
Yeah. The ending is always what people remember.
Yeah. So I want it to be spectacular. It's got to be something. It's just got to be something, Okay. Here we go. Pillman gets Bam Bam down. He's like slamming his knee against the ring post and stuff. He's got him down. He gets an idea. He goes and grabs a chair and he wraps it around Bam Bam's knee.
No DQs in the Royal
Rumble. So he is getting ready to Pillmanize Bam Bam's knee. As he's coming off...
Which is so funny because it's named after him, not because he did it, but because he had it done to him.
Yeah, so now he's doing it to somebody. But here's the crazy. Here's where it gets crazy. While he's going up to the top rope, Bam Bam gets that chair off his knee. But he leaves it on top of his knee, so Pillman's coming anyway. Pillman's coming for the jump down. Bam Bam moves. Pillman lands on the chair. Pillman is now selling up. He's selling up on the ropes.
Right.
Bam Bam hits the opposite side and goes straight into his backflips, man. He is going to back lariat and put this motherfucker out. Pillman with the low bridge. Bam! Bam Bam literally flips himself clean out of that motherfucker. Misses just right over the rope. Because he did this once in the match before. It was going to work again. Pillman's hit himself with a chair.
Those callback spots.
Yeah, callback spot. But yeah, he goes for the flips. Pillman low bridges him like the snake he is. Bam Bam.
And from the number 11 position, your winner and Royal Rumble winner, Brian Pillman.
I love it. I love it. You know, I wanted Bam Bam to win this.
It's usually unless they come in at the number 1 position, the Iron Man and the winner are generally not the same person.
No. And I wanted.
They usually like to split those accolades so that you can spread the shine around. Mm-hmm. So
now I wanted Bam Bam to win, but once we got Pillman, I was like, he's such a snake. There's no way he wouldn't win this match. And I mean, if we put that same Pillman in a match made of people like post Attitude Era to now, maybe there's a bigger snake. But Pillman is an all-time snake, man. There's Bam Bam is just a badass. He's a brute. He's kind of predictable. This is where Pillman's snake nature can come into play. So we know Bam Bam's going to hit those flips at some point. And Pillman takes advantage of that. That was a tough one though. Because I knew as soon as Bam Bam came in, I was like, there's not a lot of guys that are going to be that big, that agile, that just legitimately scary. That's going to be our Brock. That's our guy who's going to get almost all the eliminations. But once Pillman came in, I was like, if we're doing pre-Attitude Era, unless like Randy Savage shows up or something like that,
right?
It's got to be Pillman,
Yeah, and you know what the funny thing is? Like a lot of those like main event guys are on this list. They just didn't get picked by the random number generator. Like, guys who are on the list that didn't get chosen are like Rick Rude, Roddy Piper, Owen Hart, Bret Hart.
Any of those guys could have changed.
Ted DiBiase.
Any of those names could have changed this whole thing. Any of those.
Yeah.
Owen, Brett. If Owen would have been in this, he would have won. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yokozuna.
Yokozuna, like that. He would have put Bam Bam out easily. That would have been the end of Bam Bam if Yokozuna had showed up.
Yeah.
So it really was based on the names that we got, and but we got like what I feel like is that we got a really good combination of like main event recognizable names and easy jobbers. Because that's what the Royal Rumble needs. You need like a really good handful of like big names who could absolutely win this match at any time. And then you need guys who we know as soon as their music starts playing, that guy's going to be out of here in like 30 seconds to a minute, 2 tops,
My favorite is Iron Mike Sharp because I doubt that he ever had theme music.
I don't think he did.
So like some random tune would play. Like, who's this guy?
Who's Jim Johnston guitar lick that nobody else wanted?
I didn't even know this guy had music.
Yeah. It's not like today where that first like 5 seconds of the music has to tell you exactly who's going to be coming out,
Right.
Like back then it would have just been some kind of weird like network guitar lick. And we'd have been like, who the fuck is this? And then they would have been like, this guy. We'd be like, who gives a shit? So, but yeah. I feel justified in Pillman winning. I don't think anybody's going to argue with me on that. So
yeah. I looked at it and I was like, it's probably gonna be like Ricky Steamboat.
I am a huge Steamboat fan, man, but
or like I thought Orndorff could go all the way. I had a feeling that you were an Orndorff guy, but it didn't. I thought Arn would last longer.
Arn didn't last longer just because of the comedy. It was just there to be had, and we had to have it. Okay, Arn's got the gun thing, Pillman's got the gun thing. Like this had to be it, But also like Ricky, I am a huge Ricky Dragon Steamboat fan, but he is too kind-hearted of a person to win a Royal Rumble. He's not like, I'm sorry, but I feel like the Royal Rumble winner has to undertake in some nefarious tactics at some points, even if you're a face, to win a match like that.
See, to me, I feel like he'd be difficult to eliminate because he skins the cat all the damn time.
I would feel like, normally he would have been difficult to eliminate, but like, I just, being so early, I was just like, I know he can do 60. I know this man.
Yeah.
You know, at the guy I know he can go 60. But really, I don't know. I feel like it's okay to eliminate somebody like him from a match like the Royal Rumble, because somebody like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is not going to be short of, main event opportunities, whether he wins the Royal Rumble or not. Whereas Pillman, as good as he was, never got as many main event opportunities as he should have had, or any at all at WrestleMania.
True. I mean, a lot of that had to do with his injuries.
His injuries
his leg
and
was real messed up.
His injuries and his drug problems and stuff like that. Like, I'm sure they all played a part, but like, even when he was firing on all cylinders at his very best, nobody took advantage of him the way they should have. WCW, like the Hollywood Blondes, was amazing. Flying Brian was an amazing wrestler. I would argue that WCW possibly dropped the ball on both of those acts, because Brian Pillman and Steve fucking Austin. Yeah. I mean, if Steve Austin is not the biggest drop ball in all time history of WCW, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
So
you could, I would argue it's an even bigger dropped ball than Hulk Hogan in the AWA.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean,
there's room for that argument.
So, I mean, call it a soft spot in my heart for Pillman. I feel like the man deserves his flowers, and if the way he's going to get it is some fantasy booked Royal Rumble, then cool. Yeah. I'll give him his flowers.
The booker.
Yeah, I'm the booker. Who cares? But I feel like I feel like that's not an unhappy ending. Pillman's a snake. He wins, man. And because that's the loose cannon version, and plus we got that really great pistol spot. Where, I mean, I'm sorry Arn had to be the guy to suffer for it, but I wasn't gonna make it a scissor spot. Okay, guys. So,
I mean, you could have made it a scissor spot, and he answered scissors with a gun, and Arn just books it.
Sid comes out with scissors. Arn
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's how I should have eliminated Arn. Sid shows up with scissors. Arn pulls a whole Kenny Omega versus Don Callis on site thing and just dips out over the top rope to go get him and eliminates himself. But nail on the head there. The pistol spot was good for coming up with it on the fly, I think. So
yeah, I think
so. There we go. But yeah, that was our Call It in the Ring for the week.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun with that one. We got to do more of that type of stuff.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
I really did have a lot of fun with that.
That's why I kept this list. I knew we would need it.
We'll need it again.
Somewhere
Keep
down
it
the line
again.
for
I'm sure we'll
else.
use it for something else.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, with that said, that was Call It in the Ring. That was the show for the week. We really appreciate all of you who listen to us on a weekly basis. We really appreciate anybody who's new this week. As usual, our hearts and prayers go out to the people affected by the fires in California. We really hope you guys come through. If any of you are listening from out there, we really appreciate you giving what very valuable time you have to listen to a couple of old assholes talk about wrestling. I really am just happy that anybody is listening to us at all, and I look forward to doing this every week. Remember to take care of yourselves, and we love you very much.
Absolutely. Take care.